Cup number 47. I am so up, Dan. I'm here with my new friend Spy. And Spy, we've got a good match coming up. First, we've got the Hood, the entirety of the Hood going up against an actual Mount Everest. So, I mean, I know nothing about these teams other than they are seeded 16 and 17. And so, therefore, by those numbers alone, I'm assuming this is going to be a close match.
Yes, certainly. I mean, we're going up with 3 maps, like it's all zones, with Hammerhead Bridge going first, and this is going to be really interesting. I mean, what is your opinion on this map?
I think this is one of the more interesting zones maps that we have, especially because this was added into 3. It's just so wide. There's so many different things you can do, and there's a lot of extra space on the sides to really give you. So even if you choose to pick up something in the back line, you really do. You're not like you're safe in a lot of ways. You still have a lot of ways to rotate and get to them and play to counter it. So I think this is a good, kind of a fair map in some ways for zones. I don't know if you share that sentiment, but that's at least my take on it.
I mean, I'm really not a big fan of this map, but it'll really be interesting to see what the teams are going to do here, how are they going to push in, and like how their team coordination is, and how they're going to put out their specials. So I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, this should definitely be a good set here. And it is going to be a best of 3 in this double elimination. So no real pressure if you lose this first round. There's still a little bit of a safety net for either of these teams. So especially that opening in zones. I know this is the community's like favorite mode overall. So I mean, what do you think about starting on zones as like a strongest mode first? Kind of a take.
I mean, I like zones personally. It's really not my favorite, but I feel like zones is just a really good starting point for like every tournament, like in general. It just kind of gives you like more opportunities to get to kind of warm up in a way, because it's basically just painting the zone, and it's really simple, so you can kind of get into the gameplay without like, you know,
Yeah, it gets you into the basics, right? The basics that you learn from Turf War before
Yes.
you step into that. And this is a good. I always liked it too for that in there. So let's take a look as we load in. What do we have coming in from these teams?
Okay, we have 2 sloshing machines and 2 splashes on the side of the hood. So this is really like just a meta point of view for the hood.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
gonna be really interesting, while Everest is more like on the not so meta, but still meta weapons. Like we see that one splash and the sloshing machine, but also junior and the junior. So yes,
I mean, it is going to be good, but they are in control on the side of yellow here, so that would be the opening up, and the hood will eventually lose it right back. There's nothing really coming in for open-wise, but so still very open. Booyah looks like a Booyah is in the back. There is one ball inside the hood. Booyah does take it, and they overlap there. Just try to control it. Suddenly will flip back to the side of Everest, so still very much a toss-up. The lead is taken, but it's still very early here.
yes. So they just gonna flip back the zone, and they're just place the bubble right there. And like the machine is kind of trying to get in like on the right, but it's really hard for the hood to kind of get in. And now with the Booyah bound, they're kind of trying to flip the zone, and they do eventually neutralize it, but that's still not enough. On the side of Everest, they still get to control the zone, and yeah, 2 down on the side of hood.
That's what it is through though, so they do. It's still back and forth, and the hood is not quite giving up. They are down 2 though, and that'll flip it back to them. So the penalty will start to come down here. I mean, like you said, this is a kind of a non-meta comp. What do you make of the differences in the junior and the junior right now?
I mean, they do have like good spots, like at the middle, to kind of place their specials, like the weight breaker and the bubbler. I mean, the crab kind of ruins this because it's a double crab, but they could potentially, just kind of get in, but it's really hard, especially against 2 crabs and 2 Booyah.
Yeah, those ultimates really do command a lot of attention and space. Speaking of commanding, there is a Booyah bomb up to their own for the side of the hood. Will eventually get in there, but didn't get control, so the clock continues to tick. Everest finally gets some pressure put onto them, but 2 fall on the side of the hood. That's both machines down, and it looks like Everest will maintain control here. They just need to clean up the last of these bits. Still fighting for their lives. They get control back as it ticks on the 10. I don't think there's a chance that the hood can bring this back. They do manage to, I don't think there's a chance they bring it back here, Spy. That will be all she, say that, but they managed to get it here.
They actually flipped the zone on this really close timing. Like, they actually managed to cap the zone, and now Everest has got to go back in because this, like, delay for the side of Everest is really hard. Like, 66. This is gonna be really hard.
Those penalties are a monster, but there is a bubble in the center. He's fighting back, and Everest trying to continue to hold the pressure to whip on the dead center. Looking for a place, does eventually find one, try to chair away the sniper, finds one in the distance there, but the clock continues to roll down as it hits the 50%, and the hood still manages to hold on to this fight.
Yes, I mean, there was just a machine going down on the side of the hood, but they still maintained the control, and like the E-leader went on with the weight breaker, but eventually just kind of got eliminated. So now the hood is trying to get back in because there's a cap, and the machine getting a pick on the other machine, and they're just kind of pressuring the splash on the right, but it does eventually use the trap, kind of maintain the painting, and like pressuring the other team.
Pressure is on there. The rebounds come out from Everest, and they will trade it back from the hood. Every single person just throwing out whatever they got the second they get it. Control does eventually fade down, but it looks like it will start to fall back into the hands of the hood with 2 down on the side of Everest. There's not much in the control. Last minute ticking down, and the penalty that was accrued, probably not that much, but that hood still has a long way to go.
That is correct, and I mean, it is really hard to get in right now, especially because the hood has 1 special right now, but Everest has 3 specials, so they can kind of get a chance here if they can coordinate really good, and they're going into Booyah and weight breaker, so that will give them an opportunity, and they actually flip the zone, so Yessir is getting this.
It does flip right back though. I mean,
Yeah.
they're still there. The Hood is still fighting. That's the last. Only one remains, and 20 seconds on the clock eventually will force out the bubbler. And Everest still maintains control. As long as they hold it out here in the last 15 seconds, they'll win this out. Looking for more. There is just that soda butt just coming out. Eventually, I don't think there's going to be paint though in time in these last seconds. The last members of the Hood showing up quick, trying to put some pressure and get control. Do they have enough? No, they don't have the numbers. The last spots come in, and that will go map 1 going to Everest.
What I also find interesting, like at the end, you could also see like the mine was also like the primary, like kind of saver of this control because you were able to see they almost neutralized the zone, but this mine was able to kind of maintain the paint on that zone, and therefore they were not able to get this zone. But
Yeah,
it was a really interesting match.
it was very close. I mean, we were kind of questioning, I think, going into the beginning of this, the kind of meta look that the Hood was showing us versus what Everest is bringing with those adaptions. Do you think that those adaptions are going to stick around as we move to our map 2? Do you think they can maintain that, and do you think that that's what they need? Can they keep this up, or is it something where uh, there's just a little fine tuning in the Hood, maybe some gameplay adaptions, or maybe bring in yet another crab to kind of balance out the health loss?
I mean, they could potentially bring out another crab because I mean, it's a pretty good special. It's good at almost everything it does. So it is zones, so I could really see it because its painting is great, and they kind of get to compete with the other team, and I feel like it will give them a really good opportunity to kind of get in more and get these picks. So
I always wonder when it comes to Mako Mart because I play a bit of backline myself. But it's just so hard given that something like the E leader really can't hold as far back as you really want, right? So what do you think? Do you think they're going to keep that E leader in that full kind of a backline status for Everest, or do you think it's worth maybe packing in for another midliner?
I feel like they could potentially bring in another Slayer because they like especially with the splash it also has really good painting and the kill potential could also rise to a lot. So like you said, e-leaders kind of have a bit of trouble going in this map, and I feel like a Slayer would give them just more opportunities to kind of get in.
Yeah, I also think if you're going to continue to run the junior and have that space holder with the bubble, I think you could really use a Slayer. Like you're able to move your sloshing machine in position, but that's a lot to ask from your sloshing machine and your sploosh. Like you want them to have the space to paint, but really you want to make sure you have someone that can focus out the picks. And I agree with you actually. I think that makes sense. So let's see what happens on this load in because we might be right, we might be wrong.
Do actually see the splatter shot on the side of the hood.
Interesting.
So this is certainly interesting. I mean, they could potentially get these picks on like the bunkers because it's kind of like a slope, and I feel like Trizuka is a really good special for slopes because it kind of flies in that weird angle, and I feel like it could give them the hand.
But right now the Hood has the upper hand, I say that just as both sloshing machines begin to fall. The aggressive play there, you can see them in the back will eventually get punished, and there's the third to fall it. So initial control taken, but Everest will regain control at the start.
Yes, and we see that Everest stick with like that E-leader, and this could be certainly interesting, especially with the Triton-Cup, because it is like I feel like the enemy of the E-leader is the
Yeah.
Triton-Cup.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That Trizuka should be coming up though any second. I say that, but they get immediately picked, and the Booyah bomb is thrown out instead. Doesn't quite clear the spaces as the paint continues to fly. Clock continues to tick down, also passing that 50 mark, and there is no one really to contest. Look at the aggression out of Everest pushing in and finding a 2v1 to easily win on, and they just looking dominate here.
Yes, certainly, and they like kind of push into the enemy's base, like you can see the flash, but they go down eventually, and they have 10 seconds left on the marker, on the time marker, but they do eventually get the Booyah bomb on the side of the hood, and they do get to flip it, and now Everest has to go in again, like they have a lot of penalty, so this will be interesting to see. The E-leader is kind of like in the mid, but does get a pick, so that's great.
They'll eventually start with that round, but this is just a case of deja vu here. We saw this in round one. So the Everest still trying to wear down that mountain of a clock, probably in the back line, just going to try to send in the sub, try to find a little bit of value. It actually does find one, and Everest maintains control here, 2 down. Will eventually lose it, and the picks continue to fall for the Hood. Lose one of their own, but the fight's basically in a good spot.
Yes, and we just saw that they got a wipeout on Everest. So now they have like this really kind of pressure on as the time goes down for the side of the Hood. And you can see that they're kind of like pressuring them, like there are 2 on the side of the left. And they have a problem going in. They do not manage to coordinate this.
They're looking to do that. You can see that there are 3 specials up between that. So trying to push in as a clock about 40%. Oh, eventually falls with one. There's the junior, there's the bubble. We'll send the Booyah by. A little bit of space by forward, but they have plenty of space in the world. The Hood is actually taking over the neighborhood here. Let's find another one. There's the second for the sloshing machine. Eventually gets punished, but the clock is ticking down. Eventually loses control. He was going to end up with control here. Looks like the Hood will retain, and suddenly this is flipped on its head.
Yeah, like we just saw the machine getting 2 picks at once.
There it is. It's closed out.
Or the side of the Hood, and they get eventually the win on this round.
Great strong hold from them. Really just took it right back to them. Everest looking pretty dominant in that initial, kind of similar to that map 1. What happened? What changed that really gave the Hood a chance to kind of run this back, you think?
I feel like during the mid of the match, like the Hood was like really going in, like they had a lot of aggression during this part, and I feel like that was kind of giving them the edge, especially with like that sloshing machine, as he also got that double kill, and they used their specials a lot coordinative, and this did eventually turn out to be like a good foundation for them to get this win.
It was the foundation. It's the foundation to bring it home, because now we are match point in game 3 with the Hood versus Everest, still in round 1 here of Triton-Cup 47. And it's a little bit tough because I feel like Everest has had strong showings, especially in round 1, that first set of zones. But something just, like you said, they just kind of got off foot, got pushed back into their own space, and never really were able to collapse. So, now we're moving on to our map 3, and it's much smaller here. So
Yes.
what do you think Everest needs to do to kind of bring themselves back and continue on in the winner's bracket here?
I feel like they should really keep the E-leader on this map. As you said, the map is fairly small, and a backline just kind of gives them the edge on like the locations and just like the range on its own for the other team. And this would give them the advantage, in my opinion.
I agree with you completely. As someone who plays quite a bit of E-leader myself, this can be a great map for you. You just are able to control pretty much all of the zone space. So I think keeping and protecting that too, because that's kind of been something I noticed for Everest in that second round. Really, the E-leader just was constantly getting picked. There was no space for them to set up. So I think really keeping the harassment up for the Hood will keep them successful versus Everest.
That is certainly true. And yeah, maybe they're gonna go in more aggressively, like maybe like the last match. And this will be very interesting to see.
Will be the loadouts looking pretty similar so far. Looks like we found into our comfort picks. There is still the either. Yeah, no changes here. So they have found their comfort picks and they are ready to go. I like this. I like these looks. These are still strong.
Yes.
A lot of opening gambit though. Ooh.
Yeah. Like with the Trizuka, this map is also kind of good for the Trizuka. Like this kind of slope is also just giving the advantage for any kind of long range special. So Everest is going in with the crab and the bubbler, and they do eventually get the pick on the splatter shot.
The initial control was found again by Hood, and it's again taken by Everest, and this is looking to be a similar story as before, but Everest this time the aggressor, taking the forward position, trying to prevent this, will force out one of the crabs from the side of the Hood. Any sort of value to be had, Booyah Bomb to try to contest it, eventually just burns it. No real value found from either side, but the damage was done, and Everest will continue to run down control. Holding on, they maintain control here. Booyah Bomb thrown onto the mid, just to try to buy some space, eventually losing, and it's still a bit back and forth. Another Booyah Bomb coming in from the side this time. They just can't seem to get control on the side of the hood, and there is the flip.
Yes, like the Booyah Bomb was kind of the maintain to the zone of on the side of the hood, and we can just like see them pressuring the other team, especially like with the machine, and they do need to go in soon or else they will lose the lead on the side of Everest.
Just getting confirmation that it's actually, so we have Everest in yellow this time on this side, so Hood in purple will eventually lose control and gains control back on the side of Hood, and eventually you can see it, they are taking the space up, and again just trying to push aggressively. They will eventually push onto their outer side, but they still have a bit to go here. While they do maintain the lead on the side of the Hood, they still have to wear down quite a bit of this lead.
Yes, and now going into Booyah Bomb and Crab, kind of getting that value and flipping the zone and kind of maintaining that position to try to pressure the other team, as they will go in eventually with like the 2 spot. Oh, but the E-leader goes down.
Oh,
They do get the Crab.
Yeah, that's an important pick, where the Crab is got on the other side as well. As the Hood's push taking a little bit short here. They do eventually lose the lead, so Everest coming in, finally getting control of it. They'll pop a Crab and gets punished for it. 2 down. Is there anybody that can capitalize on the side of Hood? They will eventually get control. They are down with a little under 2.5 minutes left to go.
Yes, and now we kind of just like see how the E-leader just stays in the middle and tries to control that area, but the other team goes in with the Crab, trying to pressure them out of the zone while the Wavebreaker does its job at trying to, you know, mark the other teammates, not the teammate, the team. But it does go down, and now we see a fight between the
There it is.
Flush Machine, but the Junior does win it, so
we'll win that out.
Yeah, they did eventually get through their penalty, and they just have to keep control, and that would be game for them. They only have a little bit of time left.
8
So
seconds
they
on
need
the
to
clock.
go in right now, but it does seem left. Yep.
There's no one left to touch. No, that is game. That falls for the side of the Hood there, coming in on that. So a well fought from both of those teams, but the Hood just managing to sneak it out from behind and win those back too. It looked good for both of those. So I mean, what do you think the Hood managed to make that worked in their favor over this? Because it's zones. We all kind of know how this worked. Was it just simply the weapon choices, or do you think there was something that maybe something in particular that the Hood did that really stood out to you?
I mean, it could potentially be the Wavebreaker. I mean, it is kind of a bit of a counter to Crab, because I mean, it would have to jump and it would reduce its like time of shooting the other team, and it also deals damage through the Crab if you don't jump. So that could be it if it doesn't have a lot of depth to it, but it could just be like weapon choices, like the E-leader maybe. But yeah.
Well, I think we've all learned an important lesson here. Remember to jump your Crabs one and all, keep them going. So that is going to be our look at round 1 here. We will see the Hood move on to play. I literally don't know how to. I'm just gonna go with dog emoji, because all they literally put on this team for the number 1 seed was the dog emoji. So I'm just gonna go with them. But we do have, so the Hood will go on to play against dog emojis, and we're gonna check in with a different set of teams here as we jump into round 2 in the winners bracket. I believe we are checking in with those names are not correct. I believe we're going to Booyah Gang versus Rise, but we're going to take a quick break before we do that. So hang tight and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We've got round two here in the Triton-Cup 47. We've got the Booyah gang, which I feel like is most of this community, versus Rise, the number 8 versus the number 24. And both of these teams coming up 2-0 in the previous round. Spy, it's going to be, this one should be an interesting with both of these teams coming up pretty flawlessly so far.
Yes, certainly. I mean, this first map is gonna be Eel Tail, and I feel like the zone is really big on this map. I wonder if they will pick a backline. I mean, the bridge is pretty perfect for that, I guess. You could kind of pressure them out with the wave breaker, especially because, I mean, there are some like pieces in the zones that'll keep you from like the movement, and yeah.
Yeah, this is such a tough. This can be a lot of space to control, especially on zones. So, I mean, we did see a bit more of backline. Do you think that a lot of the teams here are going to be like adhering to the very strict three crab menu that we're used to seeing, or do you think that these kinds of variations, similar to what we saw out of the hood, are going to pop up more?
I honestly hope for more variations. I mean, we all know and love the crab meta with like the machine or something, but I love diversity in like comms, and I love seeing how these people are trying to evolve their comms and playing around them. And I do really hope for diversity. It could not be, but I hope for
Uh,
diversity.
I think we are all sick of seeing the Red Lobster special here.
Yes.
So I'm with you. But I think the one thing that judging by Booyah Gang, if I had to guess, we're probably going to see more Booyah bombs out of them. But another special that kind of got a buff in this last patch that I'm wondering if we'll start seeing more of was the triple ink strike. And given that there was there was a lot of numbers and a lot of stuff that went into that, I'm very interested. Do you think that's something that we're going to see pop up more as we get deeper into the bracket, or do you think that might just be something untested and unsure yet?
I feel like they could bring it out. I mean, Triple Ink Strike is a really good counter to Crab, especially like it has to get out of the area, and it's also really great for painting, and it does a lot of damage. So it's a displacement special, so I could potentially see it here.
We'll see if the Booyahs decide to get up their Booyahs for ink strikes. But let's see. We do see a Stamper coming out. That's a good adaptation. I like that. We do see on the other side though, also bearing the E leader. Interesting. I like that. Similar comps. But what do you make of the Stamper here?
I feel like the Stamper is a really interesting choice. I mean, it's a really great weapon with a lot of damage and also not bad pain output. And I feel like these kind of lambs are good for the zip caster potentially. I'm interested to see how he's going to play around the zip caster.
Yeah, and speaking of playing around, there was a crowd playing around, but will eventually get punished. And it looks like Rise will be the first to catch control of that point pretty handedly. You can see the E-Leader just kind of looking and making that space, controlling that mid pretty effectively, actually.
Yes, and we see on the side of Booyah Gang, they actually have two specials, and they kind of maintain that zone. But Rise will have to get in eventually, and they do by using the trap and the Booyah Bomb. And they kind of get countered with the other trap, but it does not manage to kind of flip the zone and like help its teammates out that much currently. And they try to maintain the zone by neutralizing it, but they do not seem like they could flip it.
No, they will throw in the Wavebreaker came down though, but will finally teeter in the way of the Booyah Gang. The late pit coming in on this push is pretty big though. That's an opening that Rise might look to exploit. The heavy on the side of Booyah Gang also not really in position. Like you can see it, they are playing low there, and I'm a little interested to see how that works because they're trying to play into that space, but they're getting punished, is searching. You see, they're trying to search for an out to rotate. Eventually will, and now with Wavebreaker online, it's going to be a little bit late though, as two have already gone down. So with that in mind, it looks like it'll be Kit Kat here, just kind of looking for any last picks to kind of keep this under control.
Yes, like Kit Kat is going a little bit more forward, but especially backing up, laying out that mine to keep them from traversing and giving away the location. And we see Rise trying to get in here, but they do get like two picks on the side of Booyah Gang, and they could flip the zone right here.
That will indeed. At least they lost control of it for now. It is slowly pushing in the direction with the reinforcements. We'll be back momentarily as one goes down on the side of Booyah Gang. No ultimates up on any side. Picks eventually begin to fall on the 2v1 for the side of Rise. Does eventually find at least something there. Control finally landing in the back of the Booyah Gang, but there's still that E-leader just trying to picking spots in the background. KitKat will eventually just get pressured out as this continues to take down. 66 on the board and finally burning through that penalty. The Booyah Gang is looking like they are finally coming strong here.
Yes, and they did eventually get 2 picks, and keeping that zone up is kind of like their main objective here. By not letting the enemies through, they try to get through, but it seems like Rise will get this lead, and they do eventually get it, but Booyah Gang is trying its hardest to counter this, and they go with the Wavebreaker and the other crab, and they get a pick on the other crab, so that's pretty good for them.
Just the Booyah bombs will fall out, and it looks like we're a little color confused here as it goes in, but the rest of that Zipcaster is in. It does eventually get punished. Tries to make the play for the side of Rise there in the yellow. So control back into the Booyah Gang in the blue side. Just again, they still have a little bit of a ways to go. A minute and a half on the clock, and it looks like again Yoshi's a little bit kind of stuck here. Going to shark their way and see if they can try to maybe get a pick and buy some space.
Yes, but we see the Splatoon Slipper kind of going into this zone, trying to pressure the other teams, especially like that machine right here.
Oh,
and they do get a reverse pick on the splash, I think.
Yeah, the splash. Yes.
And yes, they managed to get this, and they're holding the zone, and this could potentially lead them to victory if Booyah Gang is not able to get in anymore. They still have like these 30 points on their penalty, but this could be the end of the penalty if the other team does not manage to get back in.
Rise looking for a place to kind of show up and put themselves, looking for a high ground as the rest of that continues. 30 seconds left on the clock, and an early wave breaker from the heavy just to try to buy some space. Doesn't quite get that much hop. It does just delay the pressure though. 10 seconds. Is there anything coming up? Booyah Bomb does hit. Nothing there. Clock continues to run down, and that is... Oh, in the last second, they lose control. So a well-played take out of Booyah Gang to take this back and flip it, the penalty back. They still need to maintain control here. 15 seconds, and they are now on one fight territory. They cannot afford to lose this as they chase the rest of Rise out of this space.
Yeah, like this is really close right here. The Booyah Gang was actually able to get their zone back, but Rise does get a pick on 2 of them and the E-leader, so this might be the end for the Booyah Gang.
That's it. That was the wipeout they needed, and that will go the way of Rise in round 1 in the yellow paint. A rough match could have gone from both sides from these 2-0 teams, but definitely a match to consider when you're going into this because there's quite a lot of variation from the side of Booyah Gang, who brought in quite a few tools we were maybe not expecting right away.
Yeah, especially I feel like you saw this too, like the heavy splatling.
Mm-hmm.
Their playstyle was kind of reminding me of like a Nautilus. You know,
Yeah.
It's kind of more like midline and it's more aggressive than like your regular backline. It was really interesting.
Given that you can't really contest against that E-leader, yeah, I feel like you almost had to. It's not like you're just going to be able to sit back at the same distance and just compete versus that E-leader. So really just enabling enabling for your backliner to kind of move forward did a lot for the Booyah Gang. So they'll take that victory going into map 2 here. It's everybody's favorite, and I say that with the most quotation marks I can put around this. Zones on Mahi.
Honestly, I don't feel like this map is too bad. I might be like
Look,
left out or something.
Nope.
I don't know.
I'm with you. Look, I'll take that hard stance. I didn't play this in Splatoon 1. I was never a player. I think Mahi's pretty fine.
It depends on the map. Like, I do find it better than Hammerhead Bridge. Like, I cannot stand Hammerhead Bridge, but this map is like its ups and downs. Like, it's still way too small. You could say it gets like bigger and a better map when the flood drops, and yeah, I feel like they could potentially bring in another E-leader or a heavy splatling if they... I mean, the map is pretty small, so that would give them kind of the edge with like that big range.
Yeah.
So the comp could change here or it could just stay the same.
Yeah, and it's hard, right? Because these are a lot of comfort picks for these players when you are so used to grinding on a meta and then like counter meta. Sometimes there's no reason to change. If it ain't broke, don't fix it in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the case for this. The question of, I think to me, is how much did you actually scrim this? Because I feel a lot of teams probably actively avoided this map mode combination.
I mean, it could depend on, like, maybe you play, like, the Ludi rotations or something. I mean, we did that. And it was kind of a pain sometimes, but it was okay. Yeah, but this map is not that bad. Maybe we see a little slip up of the comp or something, but
Well,
it doesn't look like it.
no, it does not look like it to start. It's everybody's pretty much comfortable here going into this. Yeah, I see no changes. So, I mean, who do you think? What do you think is going to be someone we can keep an eye out on? What weapon do you think we should be keeping an eye out on here going into this smaller zone?
I feel like it would be the heavy Splatling again if they continue to play more midline like before. But we do see 3 picks on both teams.
Wow.
Like, B-Leader kind of trying to paint, but it is really not a good situation for B-Leader right now, because it does not have a great paint output, but we do eventually see Rise getting that zone and keeping the lead. But how are you gonna think this is gonna play out?
I mean, this can go out any number of ways here. Now that we've kind of moved up and we've taken the space, we do have a little bit in the way. The Trizuka does fire out, followed by the Booyah bomb, just to try to buy the rest of the space. The ultimates come out from the side of Booyah Gang, and I mean, that'll force the water level to drop. So that's kind of like you were talking about in their favor. Now the game changes a bit here, and now with those game changes, it looks like Rise may be in a position to. I'm sorry, Booyah Gang in a position to get this under their control, and they will push up for it.
Yes, they can play around the map more now that it's increased in, like, size, but we see the machine getting owned by that Fizzy Bomb. And yeah, they are holding the zone, the Wayfaker is coming in, but it doesn't do much, sadly. And yeah, Booyah Gang continues to keep the lead, and there are 2 people going in right now, but Detroit does manage to get that machine.
It does, and they are a bit cornered here. Eventually forces their way out, and the heavy Splatling will eventually just retreat out of the way with shots in hand. So 2 down, and we'll flip back to the Booyah Gang, and they are ticking down the rest of this clock. 20 and counting. I mean, they are pushing up aggressively here. Finally, eventually gets traded out. But the rest of the pressure is there. 10 seconds left on the zone. Is anybody going to be able to come in and contest this? It looks like Rise will finally make it. They will put the pressure down, and they will finally do something. Booyah Bomb just trying to make control. 4 on the clock. Counting down is their chance. They take it. No, they do not. And the Booyah Gang comes up with a victory through that second round. Wow. A great quick aggressive steal from them.
I feel like at the end was kind of giving Booyah Gang the edge. Like, we saw the splash going into the enemy base, and Rise used their wave breaker. And I feel like this might have been a key item to get them into the other position and getting the zone. But sadly, they did not have that wave breaker at hand right now, so that could have been the key to win this.
It seemed like they really. I agree with you, because that wave breaker hits all of the zone. It hits everything, especially when you put it in the right spot. So I wonder, did they maybe overuse some of their ultimates there? Was that a case of we knew we needed to get control back and committed everything too much, or was it just kind of like a bad timing in building ultimates?
I feel like it was just a bad timing of using the specials. Like, as I said, the wave breaker at the end, they did try to flip the zone with the Booyah Bomb, but they got overpainted, so this is a really harsh situation for them. But it is 1-1, so this is the final match. This is gonna predict everything.
Is going, yeah, this is it. This is yet another 2-1 on the line here for both of these teams. Still a bit of a safety net, though, because this is double limb. Let's remember, we're double limb best of 3 for now. So, I mean, there's still, you can still kind of take a moment, fumble, and pick it up in the lower bracket, because there is still some good teams going into round 3. It looks like we're already seeing some of them come in. And I mean, going into map 3, speaking again, we're back at another just huge map with the market.
This is... I like this map. I mean, I like to play around it. The flanks are a bit tedious, in my opinion, because if you do not watch them, you will get punished. these
Absolutely.
are like essential to this map.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. This map feels to me like we are checking our backliner, are basically saying like, look, you are scoped in on whatever, or you're paying attention to the zone to paint. Are you also just checking because you have to keep an eye on your flanks? Like it's kind of really a good backline check here. I think no changes. I'm sorry, there is a change. We do see a roller coming in. We do see the Flingza from missiles here.
Yes, and we do see double splash in this. I mean, the
Interesting.
crab is really good for this zone. It just gives you a lot more range because this zone is not that big, like not as big as maybe like Eel Tail.
Yeah.
And with the missiles combined, this could give them like really good combo potential. And it will be good to see if they kind of get to, especially for the E-leader, like they could move the E-leader and it would be tedious for them.
Yeah, but speaking of that, the E-leader is pushed up. Kit Kat has taken that space as the Booyah gang has control already. Wavebreaker out to try to see if they can find anything, and they just seem to be pretty firmly in control. Will eventually back out and give control over to Rise as they'll begin it down. Trade off on the sides there, so I do like this. They're really trying to push the pressure from all angles here on the side of Booyah gang, and I do like that.
Yes, and like watching the flanks is also, they do manage to do that pretty well. Like any kind of flank option is countered right away
Yeah.
on the side of Rise, but they do need to get in if they do not want the team to get too far ahead and giving them this penalty.
They are plenty far ahead as it is, and that's 50% ticking down. No real contest. Crab out. I mean, I don't know that might have been just a little bit preemptive. Zipcaster zooms on by, try to put some pressure on, eventually loses control to Rise as the rest of this comes out. So Rise will burn down the last of their penalty and begin their climb down.
Yes, and we see 2 down on either sides, and they do go out with the Trizuka and the Wavebreaker, kind of coordinating these specials. And on the right, we see the Splatana Semper kind of pressured because they have a hard time going out, and they do eventually go down, and they are forced out by the missiles. So, yeah, missiles are an interesting case.
I mean, we always remember how oppressive they were, but equally as oppressive as this Booyah bomb, looking injured by that space, comes in and eventually gets controlled back to Rise. Still not too much. They have a bit of ways to go as they burn down the rest of this penalty. Crab on the flank, looking for some value, eventually forced its way out. The rest of the Crabs will continue to pressure out here. Eventually, control falls apart, and there is no one there. Wavebreaker just to try to buy a little bit of space for the Booyah gang, and they will regain control. Penalty is back up for them. They have to burn down 30 more seconds, but they are firmly in control.
Yes, and it's like kind of the penalty switching up and down on both sides. Like the one team catches the zone and then the other caps it. This is really interesting. And we see the splash kind of not letting through this flank. And yeah, they do get the picks on the side of Booyah gang. And
Rise.
they do maintain the zone. They could get this lead here if they manage to pressure the team, but they do go in with the trap and the
Trizuka.
out of the zone, but they do get the lead.
They do get the lead there, and just in time to nearly lose it in control. So now the clocks will tick down, as do the members of Rise as they continue to fall. Booyah getting pressed up very, very far ahead here, trying to buy the rest of this penalty out of their way. Minute and a half on the clock. But their lesser clock is falling. They will eventually take control here. Does hold it back. Missiles forced out into it. Rise does find the picks, but is there anybody there to capitalize before he gets to control? It looks like Rise will get control as we do see the Zipcaster go in, find somebody, is backed up by the Booyah bomb. Still trying to find some sort of a pick here. Just be a nuisance and will eventually have to get themselves back out. Booyah again comes up in control though, 20 on the clock, and there needs to be a pick. There's that flank from we were looking for, and there it is. The Crab does eventually punish along the way, and now the point in the neutral looks like it will fall back in the way to Booyah gang though. 20 on the clock and 1 minute remaining.
Yeah, and especially getting these 2 picks from the machine and the finger roller, just kind of like these good pain outputs with the missiles and Booyah just didn't give them the edge, and this win is for Booyah gang.
Booyah gang, Booyahs in the end, as it were. So they'll go on and continue into round 3 of our winners bracket, sending Rise down into the bottom to fight for their lives.
Certainly.
Who do you think? And this is like a tough question always, but like, What do you think of all those weapons and all those things we saw? What do you think was the most consistent, constant thing that like really helped a rise to success?
I feel
Or
like
sorry, Booyah game. Sorry.
Booyah gang, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been the flashes again.
Yeah.
Really strong weapon with a great special weapon, and the Eater also kind of gave them an edge on the paintable, on like the
Yeah.
umbrella thingy, and they watched the flanks really good to kind of try and prevent them from getting in too close to them or like pushing their base, and that just kind of gave them the edge on this victory.
It sure did. And now you can see on the map, we will be changing formats as we go into round 3. But that is a moment for another time, as we got another quick break coming in. So we'll be right back. Many squids have entered and some have seen themselves out, but it is round 3 here for Triton-Cup 47, and we've got Squidding Good versus Yessir. I am Dan. I'm here with my new friend Spy and Spy. Squidding Good is a pretty Squidding Good team, actually, it seems.
Yes, certainly. I mean, they have not lost a round up until this point. And I mean, yes, Sir has lost one round, but this doesn't say anything. This could turn out either way. And yeah, our first map is Museum de Alfonsino. How are you feeling about this map?
I'm feeling not as good as you pronounced that. That you pronounced that very, very clearly. Yeah, that no, like this map has always been an interesting one to me. It's such a weird mechanically set level with you have the spinner in the middle, the walls on the side that kind of like on your side that kind of take up a lot of problem. It's a really cool map from a design perspective. I'm not a fan of it in the regards to I've lost so many Booyah bombs into walls that don't deserve to be in my way.
Yes, certainly. The coordination and like the spinner is kind of getting in the way, sometimes especially in zones. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's a losing point for some
Yes,
teams.
so much.
And yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I feel like we could see a backline potentially. We'll see.
I mean, we've seen one pretty frequently though. Like E-Leader has come up pretty constantly, and we've seen a couple outliers. But I feel like it's pretty safe to say that these E-Leaders are probably going to be showing up at least on one side. I say that, but hey, there's the double ink strike I was talking about. I was kind of looking for earlier.
Yes, certainly. And we do see a 52 on the side of Yes Sir. Two splashes and a sloshing machine.
Interesting.
This
Killer.
is, and we also see Carbon and an Explorer. I feel like Carbon is good on this map, especially like they have a lot of edges where the
Yeah.
Carbon really has the advantage and like poking and charging at the edges to kind of get the picks on the enemies if they're not careful enough.
Yeah, but uncareful was Squidding Good, who lost two immediately, so they'll lose control and eventually will get forced out as the clock moves to down. An early crab, too, just to keep the pressure up from Yessir over on the blue side. So, again, just going to try to take control of this high ground, and they're playing aggressively up, just trying to make sure they cannot get them well or find one. And I don't, again, there's no one there to really contest this. Eventually does get punished for it, but the clock is ticking down, and the damage is mostly done. Eventually, Squidding Good puts a stop here at 33.
Yes, we will see if Squidding Good is gonna get back into it and like getting for the penalty for the other team, and they do eventually get it. And we have two members down on the side of Yes Sir. They
Oh,
do
the
need to go,
wipeout.
but they
Wow.
got the wipeout, yes.
Wow, quick
So
and
this,
effective on that.
yes, they have a really high penalty. They're gonna have to kind of coordinate more with the kill whale especially, because it's a displacement special, so this could give them the edge if they use it correctly.
It already went out and they didn't displace much, but the half down there just trying to put in a little bit of pressure and rebuild. Eventually gets punished by that bomb, so a rough start coming in. Typhy falls in the middle of that all, and again, Squidding Good continues to hold control, and it's just going to be the last couple members of Yessir trying to vie for some space, and they will get control for Squidding Good, and now the rest of this ticking down, but it's probably going to be about one more push here left.
Yes, like both pushes so far have been really strong, and we see Squidding Good keeping on having the zone and getting that timer down to 10 almost, but not quite. They do get the penalty.
They will take that back, and again, Yessir will come in to control here, looking for those last straggling picks. The half gallon just kind of sitting itself ready to go, trying to buy and hold that space that they've gotten. So reinforcements will come in on both sides, and Ultimate's starting to come in too. Killer Whale is up, looking for somebody. They see multiple people grouped up, tries to push in with it, finds one. A great aggressive play, finds a second, coming up huge on the side of that. So Yessir coming up pretty big, will burn down the last of the penalty. Two though on the board, I don't know that they can take it. Eventually lose control, and will finally give it back to Squidding Good.
Yes, and as they get the penalty back, Squidding Good kind of tries to pressure them out of the zone, but they're still fighting so hard. As we see the triple ink strikes going in, but the explosion goes down on the side of Squidding Good, and they do not get the control though, but they do get the crab.
They do get the crab, and that's huge. We'll pop it just to try to buy themselves this control, and they will eventually rend control of the zone back into theirs. Finds him, doesn't get the trade out on the last pick, eventually avenge. So the clock will tick down for Squidding Good, as there's only two on point. and the rest of the team managed to hold it while the reinforcements comes in. The crab will do so. Eventually, they will push up and try to take the space. The picks are there, an aggressive take, trying to hold in and buy the rest of the space for the side of Yessir, shaking down their penalty. 5 left, and it looks like they are in a position to hold this for a little bit.
As they go in with the tri-strike, Squidding Good tries to get back in, but Yessir keeps up with them, and they almost have the lead, but the triple ink strike is going in right now.
Just in
And
time.
that is not the time. Oh my god, they did not get the lead. Squidding Good
Oh,
defended the zone, and so Yessir got their penalty.
wow, tragically. Well played by Yessir to hold on. I'm sorry, by Squidding Good to try to ink strike that out. Last minute on the clock, though. Quite a penalty to burn down. What needs to happen here for success?
I mean, the carbon definitely needs more paint if it wants to succeed in like getting those picks, because without paint it can't do anything.
There you can see it. Their paint is there. They eventually lose control, though. The penalty does come back, so flips over to the side of Squidding Good in the last 30 seconds, and it's still a toss-up here, building and kind of trading these penalties out. No one really looking there, but there are ultimates up on the side of Yessir, so wherever they commit them will have to be meaningful here to find some value. There's a triple ink strike out, and eventually someone does fall for it. That will be one on the side of Squidding Good to bring it home. 15 on the clock, loss of control to Yessir. They're in the 6 seconds left to go. They will get control here and push it past to take the lead. 10 seconds. There needs to be a flip coming in from Squidding Good. Is anybody going to be able to get it? It looks like they're fighting. 5 on the clock. Can they get control? No, it falls back to Yessir. And that is all she wrote. Triple ink strike comes in for the last minute digit, but is not enough. Yessir will take map 1.
This was really intense. Like, we saw both of the teams like going in really aggressively and always like really strong pushes. Like with that penalty also, it was very long on both sides, and they did get this win eventually. And yeah, like both whether like the both teams like just got the push and flipped the zone, it was like really held on for a long time.
Yes, sir. And they will push our undefeated to a defeat on map 1. So that's a pretty important statement out of Yessir. I want to talk a little bit more though about Squidding Goods comp, because uh, this was something I was kind of considering in the backline, and double ink strike is like a pretty good comp. Uh, do you think that was kind of a novelty that it worked and got them this far, or do you think that their comps that have had something that might hold water in the later rounds?
I mean, their comp definitely was an interesting choice. I mean, they did go in with these really good special weapons, and on the side of Squidding Good, they they got the carbon, and I mean, like I said, if it doesn't have that good paint, it isn't really able to do much, and I feel like Yessir was taking this to their advantage and just didn't give that carbon enough space to roam freely.
The carbon really kind of felt like it was stuck in a lot of. I want to say, I just kind of feel like it never really got the space it was able to take. Like, if you're putting your slaying power into your carbon, I feel like there has to be something to kind of back it up. But we'll see if those changes come through as we move to map 2 here. Still splat zones, everybody's favorite mode, and there are some changes to be seen. We've seen Explosher coming in.
I mean, we saw Explosher during the last round too, but it was more like without the carbon, and now with the splash, and we see double splash and double machine on the side of Yessir. How do you think this is gonna play out, like with the specials eventually?
I mean, it's tough to say because there's a lot going on, but it will see the initial control go to Squidding Good, and yes, sir, just immediately forcing that right back. I think it's going to really depend on these triple ink strikes, because if they can land and apply the pressure, it is easy to lose control in it, but it continues to go back and forth for the side of that pick, eventually for the side of yes, sir, and a long Booyah bomb to try to buy a little bit more space. They'll get control burn in, there's a little left of the penalty, and eventually just fight their way back. But that Explosher is putting out quite a lot of paint on the point, really pulling the attention there, eventually trying to get slated by the sloshing machine. Can't really find anything, and yes, sir, continues to roll this down.
Yes, and we see the Explosion kind of struggling at this wall and like kind of low on health, and it does give out the rain, but it does go down eventually. And we see 3 down on the side of Yessir, and we see Squidding Good kind of getting that flip and working on getting the lead. and it's really close.
Is close. Squidding Good will try to tip this in their favor, just short, and unfortunately not nice time to fall short for the side of Squidding Good, as they are also down one, waiting for those respawns. And Yessir will maintain control here. A little bit of a penalty on their side, but now the team is pushing up, and they are trying to deny that space. A little bit of bomb on the pressure on the right there. Eventually loses one, so trades on either side. The clock continues to tick down, 60 and beyond, and they are looking good to hold control here. One pick comes through though for the side of Squidding Good, and the Ink Strike to follow it up is a good way to maintain control, so they will force that penalty back on and buy control.
Yes, and we see them just like going into the enemy's base and pressuring them out of the zone. But they do use two Booyahs on the sides of Yessir, but the machine goes down to the crab tank. And
Oh,
Squidding Good maintains the lead. It is 2 down, and yeah, Yessir still has the penalty going on. And if they do get this penalty down, they could potentially like give Squidding Good kind of this emotional, pressure to get back into the zone before it's too late.
There it is. That pressure is now on because Yessir continues to wind down the clock here. Ink Strike is up and ready to go. Tosses out, does eventually force control out, and they will manage to flip it, adding the penalty back on. So now with a little bit of their own penalty to kind of fight through, and the last of these picks to clean up, it looks like Squidding Good is doing their best to try to buy the space, and less than 10 points left on the penalty. And 2 minutes on the clock. It's still a bit of a toss-up. Both of these teams coming in strong, but a pick for the side of Yessir is not what you need to see to keep this open, ticking down to 40 and beyond. Looks like Squidding Good is in position to take this back into control. I think there needs to be, because they lost the lead there, and there's Squidding Good will continue to roll this down 30 and ticking. Nothing much there. Eventually the picks will come through, and Yessir is primed to take it. Ink Strike comes in, try to buy a pick in the space, does find one, and they maintain control, but the penalty is there on their side. But 4 strong is Yessir on control. They will get that Booyah Bomb and Cloud coming in. Looks like there's going to try to press this out from preventing Yessir from getting that, but I think the damage is done here, Spy.
Yes, certainly, and we see only 2 T-Techs remaining on the side of Squidding Good, and Yessir is pushing into their base and kind of sharking on the right side, while the Explorer tries to get like this area covered. But we see the splash going down on the side of Yessir, and Yessir actually gets the lead, but the triple Ink Strike goes in, and so there's the penalty.
There is the penalty back, but the most important thing has been done. Yessir has the lead. 1 minute on the clock, and the fight continues to break out there. The Squidding Good does come out on the victor there, so they'll gain control, and it looks like that will be the Ink Cloud coming in just to rain on everybody's parade. 1 minute left on the clock, and the penalty ticking down for Squidding Good. They do have control here, but you can see it. Yessir is stacked up there, trying to put pressure on, and eventually the crowd will do that. They'll pressure the control out, and will get control mid, Ink Strike to try to buy it back, and it's still a bit of a toss-up. Both teams just throwing everything they have in their tank at it, and eventually Yessir will come out on top of control, but 20 points of a penalty is still in their way. Looking good, still just trying to find an opening, and the crab looks like the best option, trying to fight. Crab on crab violence happens, and eventually Yessir is comes out on top. 10 points on the clock. They have this lead with 30 seconds to go, and they're looking to close it out.
Yes, and we see really Yessir is pushing to their base, and Squidding Good doesn't really have an opportunity to go in right now, but they do use double, triple Ink Strike, but they do not cap the zone, and this is it. This is the win for Yessir, 2-0.
Wow. What a turn of events for Squidding Good coming into this. Undefeated, unbeaten, now going down 0-2, and suddenly it's match point for them. Yessir has looked very, very dominant using this. And is it because we're seeing a lot of the meta picks out of Yessir, right? Like, this is kind of that question of the meta versus the counter meta in some ways, I would think. Do you think that this Squidding Good comp holds up in the face of the crabs and Booyah Bombs?
I feel like it was not necessarily the comp, but like rather the use of the machine. Like, Mincemeat has a lot of edges, and Machine is also very good, like Carbon, at sharking at these particular spots and just kind of getting this weird hitbox into the enemy's base and just getting the picks on this, especially on the Explorer, who has been struggling a bit with like this machine output, and yeah, I feel like that was also a factor to give the victory to Yessir.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. So, with match point on board, we will go to museum, as you said. going into this, and Museum Zones is arguably one of the strongest preferred map and type, I would argue, in this community, it seems.
I mean, Zone's ink plot is certainly interesting. I'm kind of annoyed by this huge pillar in the middle because that's like what I like about the layout on Clamless, because that huge pillar is gone. And yeah, it would be a great place for like backlines or like the explosion how we see on the
Yeah.
side of Splitting Good. And yeah, Yessir kind of maintains their comp but switches up the splash for 52. And yes, how do
Yeah.
you feel about this?
I mean, I do like the half gallon. I think it's a good weapon to hold space there for it, and I do think it's good. But immediately, I am proven wrong as it just gets run through, and it's 2 picks down. And Squidding Good is refusing to go down here without a fight. Crab already up, and they will get immediate control here, trying to push into the space. Eventually, looks like they'll have to commit ultimates into this, and that Explosion is set up exactly where you wanted it to be. You were talking about that pillar being so important, but they are pushed way far here, Spy.
Yes, and they do have trouble to go in as the Explosion pressures the enemy team by using that wide range it has to get the picks or like just to deal some chip damage. And we see Squidding Good using the tri-strike, and yes, they're going in Booyah bomb and flanking from the right, and they do get the picks, but yes, sir, does get this zone, and there's the penalty for Squidding Good.
I mean, they are starting their journey down, and they're kicking off with a good wipeout. Will take that shared aggression back as the clock ticks down. So, Squidding Good looking for an opening here. Then immediately finding one pick down is not the opening they're looking for, so they'll have to slow it up a little bit. Holding onto the rain cloud. I mean, Splasher is trying to just find some value, but there's the killer whale. Just knows when you know where they are, it's very easy to pressure them out. So we'll find the value as they continue to go. Ink Strike comes down as well to try to buy a little bit more space. But again, this 52 is just holding the space so well. It's just so unkillable when you have to play around that wall, and eventually the lead will go to Yessir.
Yes, and like the killer whale, not the killer whale, the 52 was kind of a factor of like distracting 2 enemy players to just give them time to keep the zone running and giving them the lead. And we do see that it is only 8 down on the side of Yessir. Will they get this win? The zone is neutralized. They go in with the triple ink strike, and it is the cap for Squidding Good. And we see 73 penalty for Yessir.
That's so much of a penalty, but Squidding Good doesn't have anybody on board, so they'll at least maintain control here and go into this. I mean, the ink strike has been proven good to kind of quick flip the zone, but they just can't seem to get any footing down, and Yessir will fall too as this continues to roll down against them. So Ink Strike does come down to try to buy a little bit more space, will eventually force control out. Booyah Bomb to counter and try to buy some back, but it doesn't seem like it will be there. Yessir maintains control as the cloud comes in. I don't think it's going to go anything, as that's the third member of Squidding Good down, and the control will continue to stay to Yessir.
Yes, and you see the explode like go down at the side of Squidding Good, and it was kind of trying to keep the zone, but it was not paintable enough, I guess. And yeah, we see the crab on the side of Squidding Good kind of flanking from the left, and the machine does everything it can, but it does go down. We see 3 down on the side of Yessir, and they do flip the zone, which was really close because they only had 2 points left on the side of Yessir.
They sure did, and that was needed. But the rest of that will be ticking down, a little under 2 minutes on the clock. And Squidding Good, you know, they're now falling back a little bit, not taking that too aggressive of a stance. They will instead try to play down into that high zone. As Yessir coming in, they will eventually lose 1 though, so that half gallon out means they have to stall this a little bit longer. And they're still willing to commit crab into it. Ink Strike, meanwhile, still on the point, just to try to buy on most of the space. As no penalty there, he's looking to take this down, 20 and counting. Sure, another Ink Strike comes down to match the Booyah Bomb, and eventually they will lose control. It's Squidding Good. Looks like they're going to hold this out, but they just need to continue it. There's 1 on either side, so the reinforcements coming in are going to be important here for both sides. Eventually, they do come down. The picks fall for Squidding Good, trading back and forth, but they do maintain control. 20 on the clock, and this is 1 minute left to almost close this out.
Yes, and this is a really close match as we see the 52 kind of trying to go in, and they neutralize the zone, but is it enough for the tri-strike? No, it is not, and they do get the zone, and this is the win for Squidding Good.
Man, that was... Whew. Squidding Good, when the pressure's on, they really knew how to turn around and kind of come with it. It it was a little hairy there because Yessir really did take a quite the lead, to be sure, almost winning it out. But what changed? What brought it back for Squidding Good this time?
I feel like the tri-strike could have given them a hand. I mean, its value was kind of weird because, you know, it capped the zone, but it didn't really give them an edge on the zone because they still weren't able to go in. And I feel like that kind of changed when, you know, Yessir had that 2 points left and they didn't get this KO, and that put some pressure on them and they kind of panicked, I guess. And yes, I feel like the Explo also kind of played a role in this because it had a really good position on this pillar on mid, and yes.
No time to think more about that. We've got game 4. Still match point here in round 3. So going into this, we will see the return of the Explosher. And I don't think we're going to see too much of a change. The half gallon, it does stay. That 52 does stay. So, I mean, do you think that that 52 is doing enough work to justify keeping it here?
I mean, it is really good at, like, distracting enemies as well. Like, with the wall, it plays around them very well.
Oh.
And it is a Slayer, so it does just kind of have to go in, and it has a really good kill power. So I guess that could be it, but I don't know. We see Squidding Good taking the lead here with 84 on the clock, and Yessir takes that zone away from them.
They will. That's been a pretty consistent thing, though, is the initial lead followed by the initial retake. So control falling back to the way of Yessir in the blue. I mean, they are building up those ultimates pretty quickly. They have 2 on board. Thankfully, one only dies with it. There is the killer whale to try to buy the rest of that space out, and they're continuing to roll this down here. The triple ink strike, that's so many ink strikes comes down.
Yes.
Jeez, just takes control. No real flip, though. As the crab does get popped, followed by everything else. There is the cloud to try to buy a little bit more, but I mean, back into the neutral, there's still no control, and yes, Squidding Good finally loses too, so Yessir will continue to roll this down.
Yes, and Yessir has caught onto the zone, tried to get into the base of the enemies while there's only one enemy remaining on the side of Squidding Good, and they do have one special, the crab. Are they gonna use it in a good way, or are they just gonna, like, waste it? But we see the triple ink strikes and the crab going into that zone, but they only have little time left before this game could end. And we see Yessir holds onto the zone, and this is game for Yessir.
Yessir, closing the door on Squidding Good, giving them the one map on the way down to the loser's bracket. But, I mean, quite a dominant show on that last map, really. Like, if you had put those two, the previous map 3 versus this, and showed me them back to back, this was almost 2 different games in a lot of ways.
Yes. Like, that 52 was going in very aggressively, trying to keep the enemies away with the killer whale, and, like, using it kind of more, you know, selfishly, like, more solo. And I feel like that just got them a lot of time, especially because the 52 kind of got, like, a painting buff by reducing the painted needs for the killer whale. And yeah, it has a lot of good kill power, so I guess that kind of gave them the edge on this fight, especially on this map. And yeah.
Indeed, it was. That was Yessir, right? Am I crazy? Was that Yessir that won that?
It was, I
Okay.
think.
I
Or
thought
am
it
I
was.
crazy?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I
it
thought
was,
so.
it was, it was.
Okay, sure. Just confirming on our end. So, with that, Yessir, we'll move on into the round 4 in the semis, and we'll see Squidding Good hopefully down the line a little bit, wherever they end up and go. And with that, we're going to take a quick break to recover from that. We've got, I think that's actually, no, we've got one more coming up in round, do we? I think that's it for us, isn't it? I have no idea. I don't know, we'll be back.
No.
Welcome back to the game in progress here. We've got Uprising versus ASC Tenshi coming in hot immediately in this best of 5 on round 4. And I mean, it looks to be more of the same, a little bit of what we've seen. The Stamper has made a return though, Spot.
Yes, it is really interesting, especially on this map. We see like these pillars. It was kind of like getting a meme to like get into these pillars with the Zipcaster. So it would be interesting to see how it plays around that. And we also see a C Junior on the side of Uprising.
Yeah, that Junior, again, providing... that's not the bubble version, right? But the picks will come in. Eventually 1, 2, and 3 will fall on the side of the Uprising. The Uprising is quelled for now, and the initial control falls to ASC Tenshi. Just really, really in control. And we got to shout out the Heavy also on that side. Quite a mixed comp for the side of Uprising there.
Yes, like they give up kind of that painty vibe and like just go on range to get the control of this area because it is not that big, but they could play around that to kind of increase their chance of winning this. As we see the Booyah going down on the side of ASC Tenshi and also using that wavebreaker on both sides. So yeah, Uprising maintains that control and just does everything they can to get the teams out of this area, and using the crab is gonna specify that.
They sure will, and that'll continue to buy them down. The Uprising is still continuing to go, and they are crossing that bridge and holding again that half gallon. It just managed to hold the space, immediately get punished though by the side of Tenshi. So ASC coming in huge, forces them out, and that's 2 down going into this retake here. Clock continues to tick though as it just rolls down 20, and Tenshi needs to come through here huge. They will eventually get controlled. Throw the Rainmaker, throw that Wavebreaker down, and they'll commit some ultimates into this and get control.
Yes, and we see the Heavy kind of laying down on the back and using the Wavebreaker to control that area, while the C Junior tries everything he can to throw that torpedo to get that Heavy out of this area, while it goes down. There are 3 down on the side of Tenshi.
They will, but the penalty will continue to also roll down on the side of Uprising. Again, pushing forward, just maintaining control of this bridge and trying to buy the space, looking for any flankers that might have come through here. And I mean, ASC really is just kind of struggling to get in and kind of find a little bit of value. Most of the picks, especially those crucial first ones, fall to Uprising. Crab is out there trying to buy a little bit of space. The Booyah will eventually force it out a little too late to really punish the Crab, but this force it there. Now they have an angle here. And again, Uprising just seems to have control of the space so well. The Crab will eventually find one in Oreo. That is one Oreo dunk for certain. The Wavebreakers come out and try to buy a little pressure. There's eventually a trade, but it continues to click for Uprising. The Killer Whale comes out as well, and they can flip this back. They need to make sure they close this out. 10 seconds on the clock, 2 minutes on the clock. I don't think those 2 minutes are going to be needed here, and this is all Uprising from top to bottom.
Yes, like we saw at the last moment that C Junior was kind of trying to get in, but it's not the best fighter, so that 52 had a breeze at getting that C Junior down, and that was the win for Uprising.
I mean, that, and I think a combination of just a little bit of everything they did in a lot of ways. I always love to shout this out because this is such an important thing, I think, when it comes to zones and turf in particular. Just, I'd like to look at all the space that Uprising really controlled. They not only kept the pressure up on from crossing the bridge, but they also kept it from that center pillar and from multiple angles, so really just denying ASC the space to go forward, I think was just such a huge factor in that.
Yes, certainly, and that Heavy was also just getting the Wavebreaker output, like every minute we saw like that Wavebreaker out there, and it would just kind of give them the edge at this kind of small area while they do not focus on the Wavebreaker and get marked and get the damage.
Yeah, and it's such an easy thing to forget, given in a world where we live in with crabs and booyah bombs. You might even forget to see that while you're going around. So it really is kind of playing hopscotch in a fire in a lot of ways. So moving forward into map 2, though, I mean, it's probably, I have to assume these teams are pretty committed on their comps, but moving into map 2, I think Uprising has a pretty unique stance going into this.
Yes, and what is the next map gonna be? Wait.
It is...
And we just have scores.
Wait, yeah, I think that one's... Yeah, wait a minute.
I feel like now should be Flounder.
Yeah, I feel like it should be Flounder. So game 1 might have already passed, actually. That might have been game 2 we're catching. So I guess we're going to Flounder then, if that's correct. And I'm just going to assume I'm correct until I'm told otherwise. So going into Flounder, that smaller map, I mean, uh, I believe, you know, we're back to the smaller map. This should be a pretty easy take for something. These kinds of mid-rangey weapons like the heavy and even the 52 has got a little bit of range on it in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like they do manage to outrange some of the shooters, like the splatter shot gets outranged, especially the C Junior, and it can use its range and the wall to give it a significant advantage in this.
Yeah, and I think that that's an advantage that Uprising has really leveraged in a lot of ways going into this. So let's see what changes come through on the side of this we coming through because both teams look pretty good. We see a Hydra. Oh man,
Hydra.
Hydra, my lad. My day is made because I love a good Hydra on this map.
Yeah, like the range and like the kill time gives it a really good advantage, especially like on this open zone. There's not a lot of options to like kind of set apart and like dodge the shots. Well, there's not a lot of cover, and we see that Hydra going off, but it's pressured by the crab and the machine down, but the machine does get picked eventually.
It does eventually, and that crab finding a little bit of value eventually does not get it, and the initial control will fall to Uprising. Eventually will lose it, but again, just the Tenshi from ASC coming in huge and flipping it back. That initial kind of point control and then lost to flip is pretty common, I feel like, at this point. So ASC will hold this initially, and they're just going to play it back a little bit to start here. They will build the crab and commit that right away. Losing control, finally managing it back, but again, we just kind of see Uprising is just kind of pushed back and playing a little bit more passively.
Yeah, and like the Splatana Stamper is also a very good option against a crab, but it does not manage to get in that well because of that, like that huge gap between the spawning area and like the mid zone. It's not able to get in that well, especially when there are two crabs shooting at it. And we see two people down on the side of Tenshi, while the Booyah goes in and manages to cap the zone. So they are left, but the penalty does go down. Well, there's the machine with the Booyah coming in maybe in a few seconds. But yeah, we'll see about that.
Nah, it doesn't look like it's going to, and it will be ASC getting forced back a little bit as Uprising continues to take this down. Looks like they will manage to take control as they press a little bit forward. That Splatana just putting pressure down and buying a lot of space, really keeping itself trying to slay there. So it will eventually get forced out. Zipcaster in hand if they need it. I don't think they will because they're forcing out all those ultimates are kind of free. There's the Zipcaster. Gonna try to buy a little bit of flank angle and a great approach there. Does eventually get punished though, and that's 3 down for Uprising. And ASC Tenshi will have a pretty easy shot to come in and clean this up.
Yeah, and the Hydra was just going in really aggressively, and that did get punished by the sloshing machine, while it's not really able to get into the enemy zone due to the burst bomb rain it gets. And yeah, the Splatana Stamper is just popping off right there at the zone, but does go down.
As you can tell, the real OGs are remaining Splat Bomb, not any of these other weapons. But control is in the hands of ASC Tenshi as they will continue to take down. They've still got a little bit of ways to go, but no penalty in their way. So moving forward, trying to dodge out against that Splatana, trying to take the 1v1 and force themselves back, will give up the space. Eventually loses control. They need a little bit more. They can afford to give up this penalty, and they will lose it. Booyah Bomb in to kind of seal a deal, and finally Uprising back in control, bring down their penalty. 2 minutes on the clock, but it's still pretty open. A pit comes through, and the crab is committed. Make that 2 on the side of Relish here, looking in to try to close and take this back and try to burn down that penalty. Splatana just picking away at the distance, but the damage has been done, Spy.
Yes, definitely, and they did get this flip of the zone, and the penalty continues to go down while the Hydra has its special. Will it use? Yes, it will.
Yeah.
The Booyah Bomb is going to go down, and the Splatana Stamper just kind of supports that by giving the team more pain, while the crab is kind of just trying to deal damage. And we see the Splatana kind of pressured on because of the other crab, and just kind of like the splash is right here trying to counter out everything, while the 52 is like at its spawn and just trying to fight this monstrosity. And yes, we do get the cap on the Uprising team. Well, they finish it off with the Booyah Bomb.
Yeah, just a little bit of space bought for them as they try to take down this clock. And the pressure is on ASC Tenshi. They will eventually get forced back into their own spawn, but there are angles there. 1 minute left on the clock, and a Booyah Bomb in the face doesn't find anything. Face continues to tick down, and no zone contest really coming through here. Again, ASC Tenshi just struggling. They're committing their ultimates. You can see the crowd just trying desperately to paint. Will eventually force control, but they're committing these ultimates to try to buy the space they should have already won for free, and they'll finally gain control here with just a little under 30 seconds on the clock. I say that it's still anybody's. Yeah, they'll gain control with 30 seconds on the clock.
Yes, certainly, and they did use the Booyahs, and it didn't really give them a lot of value. They could have used it maybe a little better by throwing them on the zone. But we see the 52 down on the side of Uprising while they continue to get that Booyah into the zone, but it certainly does not cap it. So they use the trap to defend this zone while Sultan is going to kind of just tries to punish this trap, and it does. Now we have 7 seconds left on the clock while they try. Oh my god, the
Wow!
Sultan got the pick on the Booyah Bomb while it was in the air, and that is the win for Uprising.
Wow! What a great,
Really good,
great comeuppance!
really good
Wow!
Zipcaster use.
Yeah, great communication from the team as well to call that out, just to be able to say, Booyah Bomb's coming up, and just to be able to communicate that out. Incredible play out of Uprising there to look very, very strong and move up 2-0 here in this. Wow, just, for a team that may look a little bit slightly off the meta, I mean, they look very, very good here, Uprising, all things considered. We're so used to seeing these kinds of focused to, sloshing machine, sploosh comps, and they're coming in with something a little different here and making it work.
Yes, and that's what I love about like just this whole like you could make things that are not meta work, and it's so beautiful to see. Like the Splatana Stamper just going off beautifully with that Zipcaster at the end. Like honestly, that was a really great pick on that Booyah Bomb.
That was incredibly crucial. And I think the other thing it also shows is that Uprising really do have several tricks up their sleeves. They brought in an entirely different comp and kind of recognized they're playing more the map, I think, in a lot of ways. Correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like they're playing the map as opposed to the mode.
Yes, like with that Hydra, its wide range is giving it a lot of space, while it could still be countered out by like a machine on like the ledge, but it's still able to get that space it needs to get the picks on the other team and to support its team with the Booyah Bomb.
And given all that, here we are at Wahoo World, yours, mine, and everyone's favorites, Wahoo Zones. I mean, do you think Uprising need to make any more kind of changes and curveballs here, or do you think they've kind of got it with the comps they've showed so far?
I feel like this comp could really save this game too, because like I said, the Hydra has a really wide range, and the Booyah Bomb is kind of perfect for this circular zone,
Yeah.
while it is easy to cap with the Booyah Bomb, and maybe they'll get some triple ink strikes in here too, but we'll see.
They are returning to what looks to be familiar to them. They're bringing in a half gallon of their own, though, it looks like. And yeah, half gallons on both sides. And it looks like Uprising there in the yellow will continue to keep it similar to what they had, bringing back the heavy as well. Yeah, considering also the Wavebreaker fits perfectly in that zone, I think that's a good fit too.
Yes, definitely. Like the Wavebreaker is easily a good choice because, again, its circular shape is kind of weird, but yeah, it does get that crab to kind of move out of the zone, especially like on the little ledge while jumping, and yeah, they do have the zone on the side of Tenshi while they kind of pressure the other team, and the heavy does have, oh my god,
Ooh, what a
the concept
shot.
pops up with the 2 burst bombs and that charge slash while going into the Zipcaster and pressuring the other team out of the zone while they distract the other team.
Those huge plays were made, but meanwhile, ASC still manages to keep this zone ticking, and all that good work put kind of falls to nothing here. And ASC Tenshi uncontested, rolling down to 40. Again, just kind of maintaining control here.
Yeah, and like Uprising kind of has problems going in right here. Like the crabs are holding them off while they do not have that wide pain output like Tenshi has. Like they have 2 splashes and they have the Splatoon Stamper. It doesn't have bad pay, but it's nowhere near as good as the splash while it distracts the other team with the Zipcaster. And it is not
Ooh.
enough as it gets picked, but they do have the zone for Uprising, as they do have the penalty on Tenshi.
Yeah, that's important. Zone control keeps them at 11, and a pretty penalty coming down because now Tenshi has to basically work twice as hard to get it there. With the ultimates coming in, the killer whale to try to buy a little bit of space and pressure out some of that. They will manage to fight their way for control here. So Uprising burns down the little bits left of the penalty and takes it in their favor.
Yeah, and we see the penalty going down. We see a disconnect on the side of
Oh
Tenshi.
no!
Really unfortunate. The
That's
splash disconnected, I feel like.
I think it was one of the other splashes. Yeah, that's tragedy. We're a little too late in, so they'll just have to play this out. It looks like it's still not a lost fight. It's just going to be a very, very tough fight. It looks like we're trying to see. Looks like we're going to go back and play what's going on here.
Giving up on the side of Tenji. Yeah.
Yep. And I can't say I blame them. If you feel like that'll be the case, I guess we'll be right. If it feels like you are kind of lost at that point, it's so tough because that's a quarter of your team down in those disconnects.
Yeah. Like, it's honestly just so hard. I mean, there could be a miracle, but at, like, competitive Splatoon, it's just really hard to kind of compete with one player more on the other team.
Yeah, it's just so much. There's so many resources that kind of give up, so unfortunately that is just kind of going to be that case for that. We're checking in on our rule book right now. We're waiting for results. We're going back in if it's an L. But, I mean, I want to talk a minute and double back about that because ASC Tenshi was very dominant in that. They kind of gained control, and really it was a kind of a side to them we hadn't seen. What do you think made that change? Like what lit the fire here that gave them that control?
I feel like it could be due to them not giving the heavy Splatling really a lot of space, especially with that Splatana Stamper. It's just distracting, especially the backline weapon, and it does not really pay attention to the zone in particular, and that could just give them the edge while they flank or they try to go in from the bottom. And I feel like that could be one reason they have really pushed in a lot and gained that dominance during this match.
Yeah, it's a very aggressive comp in a lot of ways, especially when you're playing with a Splatana Stamper. It really does take a lot of trust in your team to know and like have the faith to really do that. It looks like we are getting in the final words here, so it will be a. Looks like we're going to have a replay, so we will be going back in. No changes to anything. So again, like ASC had a really dominant lead there. It's just a shame because they got it down to 11, and now they have to fight it again.
Like, now Uprising could use this to their advantage while trying to watch more on the flanks or just kind of protecting that heavy Splatling a little bit more while it kind of goes into penny mode for that wave breaker.
And again, they will get the initial control here. We've seen this kind of fall apart from time to time, but they are falling with one down, so control will go to Uprising, and they will get control of it to try to start to take this down. It's still very quick, but 2 down for Uprising means that control will immediately feed right back in. Short of this heavy Splatling putting a lot of work, and it will get forced out. Super Jumps will come in, so it looks like the reinforcements have made it, and Uprising will maintain control on the start here.
Yes, and we see the splash is kind of backing up right now because it is pressured a lot by those burst bombs by the Splatana Stamper. And like the 52 is trying everything it can to get that pick, and it does get the pick, while one of the member of Uprising jumps out, and that killer whale gets another pick. And we see that machine just like painting and like going over the ledges to deal some damage, while that Booyah gets not shredded and almost kills the heavy Splatling. And Uprising totally has the edge.
There is the edge, and 15 seconds on the clock, but they are down 2 now. So if ASC has one shot to come in and bring this in, looks like there's a chance. I don't think anybody's going to be making time, and that is going to be all she wrote. Uprising closes the door here on round 4, and they will move on into the play-ins for the finals.
I feel like this is so frustrating for Tenshi. Like, they kind of got counted out so much. I feel like Uprising knew how to play around this map a little more now that they knew how Tenshi was kind of playing. And they definitely used this to their advantage by maybe going in more and watching more the heavy Splatling to support this on the wave breaker, of course. So
yeah,
they totally gave that the edge.
It was a tough place to be for them because yeah, like the goat was out. ASC Tenshi had the lead initially, and it's hard to say if they were going to keep it or lose it there, but they will go on to play. I'm still calling it a dog. You can fight me in chat, but it's probably the Goats. They will go on to play the Goats Uprising in the semifinals for the winners bracket, and ASC Tenshi will have to begin their revenge run down in the bottom bracket, and that is it's gonna. I think that's gonna be all for us here. I believe, if my memory serves me. So, thank you. Yeah. So thank you all for hanging out with these early rounds with us. I have been Subdanum. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, anywhere else. I talk a lot about both children's and young adults shooting games of all kinds. Spy, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm not really present on Twitch. Like I'm on Twitter. Basically, that's like the point where you can find me talking about Splatoon the most, because like it's just such an open community and there are a lot of people just talking about this game and the comms, and yeah, if you want to find me, you can do it on Twitter.
Well, that is going to be all for us, and from oh my goodness, and from Yanban in the production booth. Thank you all for coming out, and we will be right back with your last games for the day.
Splatoon Stronghold, a stronghold for competitive Splatoon, providing resources to long-timers and newcomers alike. If you're new to the competitive scene or still figuring out how to join, we have a getting started guide and plenty of other resources to help you in your journey. If you are a seasoned veteran, we still have plenty to offer. You can find and join tournaments as well as participate in our Captain Forum and find free agents and teams. Our mission is to make competitive Splatoon easily accessible to everyone. So what are you waiting for? Join the Splatoon Stronghold today!
Triton-Cup 47. We are here in winners finals here. It's going to be Uprising versus Goat Emoji. I am Broken Pinky, and I'm joined here by Weave. And we got a this is a Splat Zones tournament. We got a lot of interesting maps up ahead. We're going to be starting things off on Zone Sturgeon. But first off, Weave, what do you think of this matchup we're going to see right in front of us for winners finals?
Well, first off, we had a whole debate on how to pronounce the team on the right's name. Is it Goat Emoji? Is it just Goat? Is it the Goats? We're not really quite sure, so we're just gonna pick one and go with it. Goat with it, if you will. Sorry, that was terrible.
Please make more I feed off puns, please.
Oh, no. I can't. Anyway. Well, we're going into Splat Zones Sturgeon, which is a map that I really like, personally. I know you have some different opinions on it than me, but I think it's interesting, especially with the spinner. On maps like Wahoo World, the timer, like the map timer, makes it so that routes are cut off at certain times, but the spinner on Sturgeon opens up a route and makes it so the backlines have to take a bit more of a risky position in order to take space. But what are your thoughts? I'm curious.
I mean, I definitely agree with you in that, like, the spinner is one of the better time-based mechanics in this game. Obviously, it's not going to beat Mahi becoming playable when the water drops, but as far as time-based mechanics go, I definitely think the spinner is pretty solid. But this stage is just very... It can feel kind of awkward to move around it sometimes, but...
Wait,
this is Flounder Heights.
This is not Sturgeon.
We're,
well...
Technical difficulties. If they play this out, I guess we're going to be starting game 1 on Flounder Heights instead. We can just take a quick little look at these comps here.
Hydra Splatling, man after my own heart over there.
Yeah.
And then we also see two people. We see Tetras and Machine, which is actually starting to become a bit more of an off-meta pick right now. But we also see the Stamper, which is going to be interesting. Those two weapons are Hydra and Stamper aren't something you see too often on a team together.
It's shocking that Machine is now an off-meta pick, but I mean, so it is. And right now we're just entering this neutral stalemate. The splash on the side of Goat gets taken out by the 52 on Uprising, but the 52 goes down as well. But it is Uprising to get that first cap. 2 versus 2 in the zone, but it's just the Hydra left actually. And this is actually a position where I think Hydra shines really well because you can really just bully people away from your own zone, and you can just kind of see how hard it is for Goat to take that zone. Hydra running for its life, 2 down on the side of Uprising, but Goat are gonna get that recapture and displace that Hydra heavily.
Yeah, they're doing what you really should be doing with your displacement, throwing them all at that backliner to get them out, because once they get out, that means you are free to move, and that Hydra is so far backed up and in a really bad spot now, and I would not be surprised if they went down right here.
They're trying for their life. They're popping Booyah. They want to live, and they are going to live a little bit longer, to their credit. But the T-Tick on the side of Goat does go down, but Goat is just doing a remarkable job holding this. Uprising is just having a really hard time pushing forward, but right now 3 go down to the side of Goat. This could be Uprising's big chance to get the zone back and get a lead of their own.
Yeah, it's I like to say the shoe is on the other foot now, and now Goat is on defense, going to be forced to try to get back in. There's a big scrap on their side in their cage where the Stamper pops Zipcaster to try to take the 2v1, but ends up going down. And Goat is back on the upper hand again. All that's left is that 52, which has a good amount of survivability, but it's not going to be able to fight off the entire team by itself, and especially with Uprising going, 2 down, the 52 does go down. It's going to be a struggle to get back in, and a lot of these weapons don't really have good getting in power. These weapons are all fantastic at holding, but they're not quite set up right to get in, especially on this map, which has a lot of weird topography that you have to work around and angles that might not be favorable for these kind of weapons.
Yeah, that's a great point. I feel like on Flounder, you really have to work one step at a time if you want to get back in. You really have to take control of your street and then your ramp just to make sure no one's going to be bullying you. And bullying you is exactly what Goat has been doing. It's 2 versus 2, but Goat just has the upper hand in the mobility because of that Hydra Splatling just not being able to paint the zone as well. But right now, it's just the T-Tech alive on the side of Goat. And Uprising is able to neutralize one of the zones. Are they able to get the other, though? Orion gets the nice kill on the T-Tech, and they are going to get the zone back. Uprising is trying to make a really strong push, just trying to do something and get some sort of hold. Get that Hydra in a good position. The Machine goes down to the Stamper, which is very well played, but Uprising just really needs to get a strong hold here because they need to get all the way down to 25 if they want to get this lead.
Phoenix on the T-Tech trying to take back the ramp, but doesn't look like they're going to abandon it in order to pursue one of Uprising players on that street there. And even though the timer the zone are still in Uprising favor, it looks like Goat is trying to take the upper hand yet again. And it's looking really scary for Uprising. They only have about a minute and a half left, and even though Goat has a big fat penalty on their side, they only have, about 40 seconds before they take the game as a KO. And with 2 players down, they're going to struggle to get back in. They're starting to maybe stagger a little bit and start to be panicking and not going in as strong as they probably should be, which it's going to be hard to break out of that kind of mindset, especially with only about 15 or so seconds left in the match.
I definitely agree with you, and you can just see how much of Uprising's base is painted in Goat's color. They just can't escape the territory of the Goats, and this zone timer is just going to tick down even further and even faster. And that's going to be a knockout. Game 1 going to Goats here on Flounder Heights of Winners Finals.
Yeah, a very, very dominant showing from Goat in this first game. But it's going to be interesting to see if on a map that isn't as controversial as Flounder sometimes is, that Uprising might do better. So we'll definitely see. Looking at the map list here, we are going... Okay, so it got switched around. So now it's going to be Mahi Mahi, which I said maybe on a less... more controversial. Long-range weapons are going to dominate here, in my opinion. They're the side your only options for cover is it's like hiding behind a stop sign. It's not great exactly. You have pillows and a single platform, and that E-liter or that Hydra or that bow can just see right through you and get you from so far. But once the water drops, the game is a little bit different. You have a bit more cover, and so hopefully we'll see some interesting plays based around that and being able to hold even when the water does drop.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things I think Uprising had a really hard time with last game was just that I feel like on Flounder, once the Hydra is in position, it's a very strong spot, but it's hard to get Hydra into that position, especially when you're in that disadvantage, because Hydra really has to get into that little cage area to be in its most prominent role. And once you lose control, it's so hard to get back there. Whereas on a stage like Mahi, it's very easy to just go on your sniper, to go on little cubby areas and just be threatening from so far away. So I feel like Uprising's going to get a lot more mileage out of their Hydra should they choose to run it on the stage. And I mean, as we've mentioned, and as we briefly mentioned when talking about Sturgeon, the water dropping in Mahi makes the stage just so much more playable. But we're just going to get right into it here. Game 2, Uprising versus Goat.
Ooh, that's
Uprising needs to respond. They respond with the heavy splatling instead of the Hydra, and Goat brings a second splash to this matchup.
I was mentioning how strong backliners are here just because of the sightlines, but Crab also falls in that category with its insane range. It's just a Hydra splatling mixed with an X-Flow with armor, as we all know, which is very frustrating to fight against, especially when they're just watching the entire zone. But 2 do go down on the side of Go. They're trading around, and they're starting to get their members back and start to take this back, even though Uprising had a good first little opening gambit there.
Yeah, Uprising just had a strong opening. Once again, they got the first cap of the zone just like last game, but now they're slowly getting pushed away. Nice Booyah throw from the side of Go. The machine does go down for it, though. But Uprising, despite only being 2 up, is still doing a remarkable job holding the zone. And there goes the water dropping, and right as that happens, Uprising is getting the zone. And, I mean, you gotta imagine it's a bit of a blessing in disguise, because, yeah, they got the lead to 58, but now you just have so much more room to work with. And the more room you have to work with, the more cleverly you can position that heavy splatling and that Splatana stamper. But right now, Go got the lead, or Go got positioning back really fast, and they're just really pushing Uprising all the way back in their base, and they're almost through their penalty.
Yeah, no, it's starting to look scary once again for Uprising, as they're being forced to really have to stick their neck out to get this zone and stop the timer before it just keeps ticking down. They're really extending themselves far and trying to get the zone, and they do end up getting 2 down on the side of Uprising, and so it's really just a matter right now of seeing if they can push themselves as far as they can with this effective wipe that they just got, and get up into their plat, and making sure that it's going to be a while before they get back in. That the timer is ticking, and they are starting to get to the point where Goat is going to start worrying about their lead here.
Yeah, Uprising is getting really close to this lead. There's only 10 points that differentiate it, and that's roughly 5 seconds. Here comes the Crab trying to defend zone. 2 Crabs are coming out, trying to defend the zone as best as possible, but that will not stop the lead flip. Uprising gets it at 40 points, but Goat is able to take the zone back quickly thereafter. Uprising got a lead, but it is a fleeting one, because Goat is already well through their penalty time just because of how fast Splatzone's moves, but here comes that heavy Splatoon, quickly pinning the rest of the zone. Gets flanked by the Splash, though, and as soon as Uprising takes the zone again, Goat takes it right back from them, and the Splash is another kill for it. It's just the Stamper alive in zone, and the Stamper's gonna go down, and that's effectively a wipe from Uprising, and Goat is probably gonna use this to convert into getting the lead back.
Yeah, there's really not much time. I don't foresee Uprising stopping this lead swap here as we see it right now. They just took their time actually in not pushing up too far and just taking their time and getting specials out. So these crabs are gonna be able to help hold. This Booyah is gonna be able to stop them from getting back in, and just everything is going in Goat's favor right now. Even though they are going down, they only have about 5 seconds left before this game is over. And we just see the zone starting to swap. There's a bit of conflict, but in the end, it does go back to Goat, and that is game 2. It is now going to be match point in the next match.
Yeah, as you said, it is a best of 5 series. The first team to 3 wins will get it, and Goat is already up 2-0, meaning Uprising has to get the reverse 3-0 if they want to make it to winner side grands, and getting to winner side grand finals is just such a phenomenal advantage. You have that whole extra set to play with. So Uprising really wants to make this reverse 3-0 happen, and they're gonna have to start here and now on Splatoon's Mako Mart. What do you think of this stage?
Okay, now here's the uncontroversial stage. This is a stage where, you know, we always say this. It's a stage where you can make a lot of different things work.
Yeah,
I'm really surprised that we didn't see the Hydra out again on that last match, just because of how dominant it would have been with the range that it has. But here I think we're gonna see the heavy again, just because the sightlines aren't nearly as good. And if you're not running Hydra on Mahi, you're not running it anywhere, to be honest. So
well,
we're gonna well, except for Flounder, yeah. But there is a merit to bring that heavy out, just because it is a faster weapon. You're gonna be able to swap positions faster. You're gonna be able to move up faster. And like I said, we do see it again here.
Yeah, and here we go, game 3, Goat up 2-0 in winners finals. And as I was, saying before, it's hard to find a weapon or a play style or a comp that just doesn't work on this map. Like, if something works in this game, it's gonna generally work better on Mako than on most other maps. And I mean, that's why we see these machines coming out, because machine works well on a lot of maps, but like these corners you can hit over and the nice little walls are just so nice. But already it's a bloodbath, and that's a wipeout instantly from Uprising. They once again get their first cap. This is the 3rd game in a row Uprising has gotten the first cap of the zone. But the issue for them has always been holding it and making sure Goat cannot make it back to the zone. So now they have to learn from their mistakes and make some adjustments to make sure they can hold this cap a little bit longer. Crabs are probably going to come out on the side of Goat very soon, but the Tetras go down. That's their main flanking force, so Goat's going to be having a little difficulties with pushing back in. One of their crabs goes down as well. The other Splash is holding crab, but there's a counter crab at the ready from Uprising, but 3 dead on the side of Uprising, and I think that's going to be the end of their zone hold.
Yeah, no, but a push to 40 is nothing to sneeze at. That was really good, especially with the wipe. We do see the Tetra go in, get a pick with that reslider, and then immediately die, just like Tetras do. But that was a really fast play from them, and that gave them some space and are going to stall Uprising's move back into the zone a bit. But their specials are starting to come out, even though they are going down. They're just trading kills right now, trying to scrap and get mid back. But Goat is on the verge of a lead swap, even though they are 2 down. They do still have that crab that can just hold it for just a little bit longer for any hope of getting this zone back, which we are going to see right about now.
Yeah, the Splash did get 2 nice kills on the side of Uprising, but it just was not enough to prevent the lead being swapped. That lead now at 39. Someone behind the crab. Beautiful flank on the side of Goat, on the side of Phoenix. Very well done, and Goat's just going to be holding this a little bit longer. Now they're below 30 points. Last ditch effort is fully active, but more importantly, Goat is so close to getting this knockout. There's a bit of a scuffle going on the left side of the map. We're going to switch to Orion, who gets the trade. Is going to go down, but forces one down himself. And now we're getting close to knockout territory, and that's going to be it for Goat, taking it 3-0 over Uprising, moving on to grand finals.
There was a little bit, just if you were watching the zone bar at the top of the screen there was just a little bit of conflict, a little bit of, it got so close to swapping there at the end with a perfect mix of yellow and purple, but in the end, Goat was able to take it back and take the set, proving that they don't just win on gimmicky maps, they win on the equal playing field as well.
I mean, you have to be the Goat in order to win everywhere, and Goat proved that just now, taking a very clean, very dominant 3-0 over Uprising. And I mean, we talk about seeding a fair bit in this tournament series, but GOAT is the first seed in this tournament for good reason. They've just been absolutely steamrolling through bracket, beating Yessir a bit ago, beating Uprising now, and I mean, they're in grand finals. They've been having a phenomenal tourney. Uprising's still in it though. They're going to be in losers finals just a little bit later, but there's a lot to come from this tournament, so I can't wait to see what's going to happen.
Yep. We will see you right back after this break as we hop right into losers bracket. Welcome back to Triton-Cup. Here we are with losers quarterfinals. It's gonna be Spaceship versus Yessir. We're going back to some really interesting maps. All three of these are gonna be really fun to watch. But I'm Weef and I'm here with Broken Pinky. And speaking of Broken Pinky, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts here. As you said, this is losers quarterfinals. These are the top 6, or these are among the top 6 players left in this bracket. A bit of a contrast to winners. This is going to be a best of 3 series, which means the first team to 2 wins will take it. But we definitely have some interesting maps in store. You know, we got Undertow Spillway, we got Sturgeon Shipyard, and of course, should we make it to game 3, we have Scourge Gorge. This is a very interesting map, but I mean, makes no sense to do anything other than to start with Undertow Spillway. Weef, what are your thoughts on this map?
I don't think it play. Okay, well, I have a very controversial opinion that it just plays. Undertow plays like Snapper Canal from Splatoon 2, but I think it plays a lot less like it on zones. I think it's more of a Rainmaker thing in my opinion. But here it's with a it's one of the 2 maps in the game that only has 2 zones, or actually has more than 1 zone. It doesn't have only 2 zones. It has 2 zones, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You get the point. You get the point. But that makes it different because you need a bit more control to actually fully take these zones, which is interesting and makes it play a bit differently than most of the other stages.
Yeah, I'll be honest, there's a lot of times where I'm playing on Undertow and it kind of feels like mincemeat zones where, you know, just it's so hard to just get control of both of them and it just flips back and forth so often. And I mean, especially at these upper levels, you know, both of these teams know exactly the strategies to get that zone. So I don't know, maybe we'll see some stronger holds, people trying to go around getting those nice flanks, but I mean, anything can happen. We'll see it happen right in front of us. Here we go. Losers quarterfinals. It's going to be Spaceship versus Yessir. We see the double machine comp coming out versus the double splash comp. Already very interesting stuff before we even get into it.
Yeah, no, here it's just who is gonna win out? Double machine or double splash? Everything else is the same, like you said, but we're gonna see if the machine's interesting hitbox, especially as it has an advantage on this map, wins out over the absolute powerhouse that is a crab tank. But already on the side of Yessir, they are 2 down and trying to cut their losses and stay alive just as Spaceship is gonna start moving in. They pop their crab, trying to take, try to hold as much as they can. But Spaceship is only going to encroach further and further on their territory as they go in with the Booyah bomb. But the zone is stalled for now. We're gonna see it take down a little bit more here, but it's starting to be a bit more contested.
Yeah, Spaceship is already having a really strong hold. Yessir just not quite able to make it there. Here comes the first Booyah bomb from the machine. It's gonna get thrown right at the splash wall. I'm not even gonna get the pick on the 52, unfortunately. I feel like Yessir could have gotten a little more value out of that Booyah bomb. Could have displaced a little bit more, but right now Spaceship are 2 dead. Now 3 dead. This is Yessir's chance to get this zone back. But the 52 is still pestering them on that left side of the map. They need to get this zone now, though, and they finally get it. They finally get that penalty going, and now they can start their own push. They force the 52 to jump out. The crabs are coming out. This is going to be a great chance for Yessir here.
You know, the points are ticking, the crabs are going on, the Booyahs are out. It's special warfare out here as one more Booyah on the side of the Spaceship comes out. And this Flash is just going for the picks, and they do end up getting one. The other is taken away by the Booyah bomb before they can get it, but this is their lead right now. They are starting to get it, which is incredibly exciting. They are just going in and taking the fights that they need to win and are still managing to hold it. They still have 2 downs, only the machines. One's on the left and one's on the right. And the other is just, one goes down, the other is backing out as fast as they can to try to stay alive at all costs here.
Mirror image from the beginning, it's Yessir with a very strong hold, and they're extending this well past where Spaceship did. They're already below 30 points. We're seeing Jisha on, you know, that sort of middle range area, just trying to patrol the zone, make sure no one gets in there, painting over any Booyah bombs that come their way. But now Spaceship is trying to contest their own zone, you know, the area closest to them, and they're doing a great job of it. They might just get this cap here, and this cap would be crucial for them. They really don't want to let Yessir get any more points on the board, and they get it just barely. Zone is still being contested, though. It's so just scrapped. One machine is down outside the Spaceship, but they still have a lot of firepower left. Down goes the 52. Down goes 2 on Yessir, but the machine is forced out, and Yessir gets the cap back, if only for a moment.
Yeah, no, it's going back into Spaceship's favor. No, that's not true. It's going back into Yessir's favor as they have the numbers advantage, they have the ability to move up further, and even though no specials on their board, because they didn't get killed, they are going to have a bit more charge and you're going to get that a bit faster. They do have that massive penalty go through, but this game moves so fast that means basically nothing, especially when you have a control, the control that they're really starting to get set up. They are starting to get picks and they are starting to move in really far. The 52 does go down, but it's not as all hope is lost as they have both crab tanks charged to keep holding. The machine goes down, but one of the crab tanks gets popped, and Spaceship is still not being able to move in. They are just continuing to get the picks that they really need to keep this hold going. Even if they aren't actively taking down, it's starting to get really tight with only about 40 points left on the board before they KO.
Yeah, I think it's been about 2 minutes the Spaceship has had comfortable positioning, and that just speaks of the strength of Yessir and their coordination. The Splash gets a beautiful double kill, just extend things a little bit further. Now chasing down that crab, getting oh so weak. Doesn't quite get the kill on it, but they get the assist, and now Yessir threw their penalty, and they're almost getting this knockout. The machine is throwing the Booyah down, trying to get people out of their feet, and just making sure that they can't get by the zone. The zone timer is stuck at 3, but Spaceship is 2 dead, but Yessir is starting to go down a little bit themselves. They really want to get this cap, but they get the wipeout, and that's going to be it for Yessir, taking game 1 of the series.
Really good first game. I'm a big fan of one of the splashes taking down that crab. That's a very ballsy play that you don't see very often, but it worked out in their favor as they did take the win right off of that. What a great first game.
Yeah, what a great first game. It's a shame that the set is only a best of 3 because I would love to see a best of 5 between these two teams, but yeah, it is Yessir taking that game, and it is Yessir at match point here. Spaceship does have to win the next 2 maps if they want to win the set, because this is an elimination match, you know. If Yessir loses, or if Yessir wins this game and the series, Spaceship is going to be out at 5th. So this is definitely a do or die moment for Spaceship, and they're gonna have to take it all back on Sturgeon Zones, which is one of the more peculiar zones maps that we talked a little bit about it back in the last set.
Yeah, we're gonna see if Yessir can keep their momentum on this map. That's a bit, you know, it plays differently. All the zones maps play decently differently, and so we're gonna see if they're gonna be able to take advantage of the timer. Both of these teams have been running backline lists so far, with opting to go for instead the incredible aggression and killing power of the machines and the 52s and the splashes. But we'll see if they continue that here on this map that is so strongly favored backline. It's kind of a situation where if one team runs a backline, they have a clear advantage. But if both teams run backline, you know, there's no advantage there. So you're gonna see the potential of just kind of debating, like, do we stick with our guns or do we preemptively run a backliner to try and cut our losses and make sure that we don't get locked out as hard?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be getting shortly into it, but you know that Spaceship is going to be contemplating things a little bit here. You know, they don't want to get too careless. They want to, you know, they don't want to get too careless because this could be their do or die here, you know? It's getting down to it. It definitely is.
So we do see Goss on the Tetras, which is a very interesting change from last round, and we do see a very stock, very clean-cut comp of double splash, double machine on the side of Yessir. So we're definitely gonna see how this goes.
Yeah, I mean, things are already opening up interesting here. You know, both teams are 1 down in the zone, trying to get this first cap desperately. This machine fighting for their life on that right side of the zone, trying to get that kill, not quite able to get it. Here comes Zero jumping out before they could really get in. Back in spawn already, just trying to salvage what charge they can have with their Booyah, but the splash goes down as well, and already Yessir is pushing a very strong advantage here.
We do see one of the machines in Fight Club there, but they definitely get out as soon as they can. No, they're still down there and still fighting. 2 down on the side of Spaceship now, and Yessir is just going to continue their hold as much as they can. Not quite moving into their court yet, but certainly going to try, as they would be able to basically lock them out for even longer, getting more and more points. This crab tank comes out, but it's going to get bullied by that Booyah bomb, not quite getting the pick, but making sure that it's not going to be as effective as it would be if it wasn't targeted like that. And we're going to just see them not go down, continue their holds, and continue getting the picks that they need, even through the reef sliders, even through all of the specials that are coming out, and bodies are being thrown at them, but they're holding strong. 2 to go down both of the splashes, but the zone is only at 10 points. They only need to hold this for just a little bit longer. They get the picks. They are taking the fights. Unfortunately, this looks like it might be the end, except they're still there. The 3 go down the side of Spaceship, and that is the game going to Yessir yet again, making this a game 3 scenario as they refuse to go down just quite yet.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake on the side of production. It was Spaceship that won game 1. Shout out to everyone in the chat who corrected it for us. We do sincerely apologize. So this is going to be a game 3 scenario. Spaceship taking game 1 on Undertow, and now Yessir taking a very dominant game 2 here on Surgeon Shipyard. And now we're going into what a good friend of mine calls the Texas-sized zone on Scorched Gorge.
I mean, the map does look vaguely desert-like, so, you know, everything's bigger in Texas.
It's more like in Arizona. It's more
Yeah,
Arizona
don't worry about it. I know my geography. I am #1 geography fan, but this is yet another very hotly contested Splat Zones map. In terms of people don't really like it all that much. It's very hard to progress past mid, and once like the zone is so massive that it ends up being very stally a lot of the time. So we'll definitely see how this goes after going from the 2 more commonly seen on map lists Splat Zones map to one that you don't see very often.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare to see Scorched zones in map lists just because it is so hotly contested. It's so hard to move into the stage because you only have one route into the enemy spawn, and that is on that graded bridge, which is just so awkward to traverse, which means that like not only is it difficult to get lockouts, but lockouts are incredibly punishing because it's so hard to get there, but once you do get there, you just have so much control over basically the entire spawn. And I think that creates an interesting back and forth sort of like who gets the more control, who gets the wipeouts needed to just really suppress the other team as much as possible, and how you can get out of that. I think there's a lot of interesting play on the stage, even if it isn't the most technically sound.
Yeah, any of the maps that have you going out of your spawn immediately into an uphill battle to get back into mid are gonna play a little bit weird, but it adds to the strategy and adds a bit more variety. You know, sometimes it doesn't feel great to play, but it's better than playing in the same 3 map modes over and over again, in my opinion. I know many people feel differently, but I like the variety that you can see out of running some weird map mode combos. From Yessir, we do see the same comp, double splash, double machine, and same comp on the side of Spaceship as well.
Yeah, we're seeing weird map modes, but we're not seeing a weird comp from Yessir. They're saying these are 2 great weapons. We're gonna keep using them. Spaceship obviously going with that Tetra dualies, just trying to keep a little bit of advantage as possible. Once again, this is an elimination match. Whoever loses this match will lose the set and be out of the tournament at 5th. And Yessir already has the first crab at the ready. I believe Spaceship has one to respond, but the machine on the side of Spaceship goes down first. Spaceship's crabs, by comparison, aren't getting a lot of value. They do get the kill on the machine, but 2 on the side of Spaceship are down, and Yessir still has control of the zone. They still have a crab on that bridge, and one is forced to jump. Yessir already has a ton of control in the opening of this game. The Tetras are jumping in, and they immediately get picked off before they can get anything accomplished. And Yessir is already having a very dominant hold in this match.
Yeah, we're gonna see if Yessir can achieve the lockout that we were talking about earlier, that it's really hard to set up, but really, really powerful if you can get to it. Right now, these machines are just throwing fizzies up onto their plat and making it very annoying. The reef slider gets canceled, but the crabs are out on the side of Spaceship, and that means that 3 members are gonna be down on the side of Yessir, meaning that it's going to be their time to, Spaceship's time to shine and show how fast they can move up and how fast they can get the advantage. Really solid here. Specials are starting to come out, and we're gonna see if they can hold this for long enough to take the lead back.
Yeah, Spaceship really has to hold this for a long time because Yessir got it all the way down to 35. Nice pick on the crab on tie flow. Very well done for Spaceship. Booyah Bomb is going to come in zone, but not quite find a target. Tetras are down, but they're already back, and they're already going to be jumping back in to wreak havoc. And all of a sudden, Spaceship is very close to getting this lead. The Splash does find one on the left side or on the right side, but they choose to jump out, and Spaceship is probably going to get this lead switch. It's so hard to capture the zone because it's so big, and Spaceship is going to get this lead back, and now they're very close to getting this knockout, but the Splash kind of gets trapped in the little corner. They do get taken out, but that's 2 dead on the side of Yessir. Spaceship still has the numbers advantage. They just need to get this gigantic zone, but it's just so hard. It's so hard to move around with that giant tower in the middle, but Spaceship is continuing their hold even further.
Pure desperation from the side of Yessir, as they know that their time is almost up if they want to take this game. They do get the cap, but they have to take lead back, and they do get a great setup for it as they get a full wipeout, and we see one of the splashes immediately go. They're filing, they know it's their time, they see the opportunity, and they're going to take full advantage of it as they're going to get this lockout that we were talking about earlier. It's going to be so hard for Spaceship to get back, and the penalty is running out. The timer is going to be ticking soon, and that's going to be their lead gone, and potentially the game if they can't get out fast enough. The crab gets a pick, but all of them have their specials, and they're going to use them to continue their hold. It's really anyone's game here to see if they're going to be able to get the timer in time, the zone catch in time. But, ooh, they do go 3 down with the splashes fighting for their life. It's so close, and they want this so bad. We're going to see if they are going to be able to do it, though.
Yeah, Yessir can taste this lead. They just need this cabin to hold it for a little longer, but Spaceship is defending with all their might. It looks like they're going to do it. They do get the zone. It's so devastating on the side of Yessir, just barely not able to get the lead, but there's still plenty of time. There's a minute and 45 seconds for Yessir to get back into that position and get that lead back, but that is just heart-wrenching. And now Spaceship has so much control in the mid. They have a crab on the grates. They're starting to get their specials. Here comes one of the splashes already has their crab. There's a crab on the side of Yessir, but I mean, we know how strong the counter crab is, and Spaceship is almost done with their penalty, and once they're done with their penalty, they're going to be in real danger of getting this knockout. This zone is getting contested, and Yessir gets the cap right now. This is exactly what they needed.
Yeah, that pick, or not that pick, that cap ensures that they are still in the game. They're not going to get knocked out here. And they are going to be able to start getting points. This penalty is big, but it moves so fast. They are 2 down though, 3 down, and it's only the splash left out here. Not going to be able to contest this massive zone by themselves, and just desperately trying to stay alive. Unfortunately, they get picked, meaning that the Tetras are in their plat. They're all filing in. They're going to do the same thing that Yessir did to them at the very start of this game and try to get the lockout here.
Yeah, but now Spaceship are 2 dead, but they're just getting so close to getting this penalty done. Here goes the Booyah, but it's probably going to get shredded, and it gets taken out. Spaceship's only able to get 1 more point of this timer, but they're still painting the zone. They still have the majority of the pain. They just need to get this cap, and they'll push their point total even further down. And there's only 20 seconds left in this game. Yessir has to make some desperation plays to go down from just holding into the zone. Spaceship still has the man advantage, and they still have the zone. It's just the machine by themselves, and they get taken out. That's going to be the wipeout, and that's going to be Spaceship taking the set 2-1 over Yessir. I don't think they can make it there in time, and that's going to be the knockout here in Game 3.
What a heartbreaking loss for Yessir to be so close to victory, but to be stalled up by that massive zone. There's not really much they could do there other than just be able to hold better, but that does mean that they are out, and Spaceship is going to be moving on.
Yeah, Spaceship is going to take it over Yessir. Yessir made a valiant effort, but they are going to bow out of this tournament at 5th place, and Spaceship is going to be moving on to loser semifinals, top 4, which is absolutely ridiculous. I would like to once again apologize for the confusion in Game 1, but there is no confusion in who wins the set. Spaceship taking the clean 2-1 over Yessir, just phenomenally played.
Yeah, very well played by both teams there.
But I believe, yeah, sorry about that, but I believe we're going to be going to a short break, so we'll catch you guys on the other side of it. Make sure not to go anywhere.
Splatoon Stronghold, a stronghold for competitive Splatoon, providing resources to long-timers and newcomers alike. If you're new to the competitive scene or still figuring out how to join, we have a getting started guide and plenty of other resources to help you in your journey. If you are a seasoned veteran, we still have plenty to offer. You can find and join tournaments as well as participate in our Captain Forum and find free agents and teams. Our mission is to make competitive Splatoon easily accessible to everyone. So what are you waiting for? Join the Splatoon Stronghold today!
Hello everyone and welcome back to Triton-Cup. I am Broken Pinky, joined here by Weef, and here we are, losers semi-finals, Squidding Good versus Spaceship. This is losers top 4. Loser gets 4th, and Weef, what do you think we can expect to see in this set? Oh, never mind, it's gonna start right here and now, I guess.
No time for that. We're going right into it, man.
Double 10 attack, my goodness!
Oh, we love to see it. Double Tensei versus Double Splash, the crab counter versus the ever-present crab. We'll definitely see. It's gonna be exciting to see what comes out of this. We also see, you know, random little Tetra thrown in there, which is always great to see. Always love to see that weapon being played. It's very fun to watch. But anyway, we're already into it. There's a massive scrap in mid. 2 go down on the side of Squidding Good already. 3 go down, and it's Spaceship's game right now, as they do have the ability to get, you know, bully this crab tank out. They're going to be able to jump, camp this jump, and make sure that their hold is going to be very solid for quite a bit here.
Yeah, I believe that's Squidding Good with that first hold. They are doing a great job. Sorry about these production issues, but Squidding Good getting a fantastic hold, taking down Zero on the side of Spaceship. And yeah, these Tetras are fighting for their life, trying to get this pick off on this 10 attack. This 10 attack trying to desperately stay alive, but the Tetras are eventually going to win the 1v1. This could be what Spaceship needs. The Tetras are starting to move forward. Here's Goss coming in on that right side flank, just trying to get this zone back, but this zone has been virtually uncontested so far. But now Spaceship is starting to get some pain, and they're trying to take it from Squidding Good. But 3 go down. That's the wipeout. Squidding Good just putting on a dominant display going off here, and they're on the enemy plat, and there's only 30 points left until they have this knockout.
Oh, that really nice pick, showing what a machine can do from the machine here. We're really seeing, you know, like you said, a very dominant display. It's been so hard for Squidding Good to get back in. They were able to hold just a little bit at the beginning, and now they're just basically falling apart here.
Yeah, and that's going to be Squidding Good, just getting that knockout there. Very solidly done. Spaceship just kind of got locked onto the plat and just couldn't really make anything happen, and that's going to be Squidding Good taking the first game of the series, and I mean, that's going to put them at match point. They only need to win one more game in the next 2 games to take the set and to move on to losers finals, so this is quite a strong advantage for them. But I mean, we're going into an interesting match for game 2, I'll say. Some might call it cheesy. I might be one of those people to call it that, but regardless, we're going into Zone's Hammerhead Bridge. And
oh, it's certainly something.
What are your opinions on this stage as someone who didn't play Splatoon 1?
Well, see, I wouldn't know the difference, but
this is
I
all
can tell
Hammerhead is to you. I'm so mad.
This is all Hammerhead is to me. It's one of the most maps of all time. Backlines really dominant here. It's such a long map, and yet getting a lockout is so valuable, because it takes so long for them to get back into the zone. Even if you overextend horribly and get wiped, you still get like 10 free points just because of how long it's going to take for them to get back in the zone and neutralize it. And there are some really good areas that, there's only 2 or 3 different entry points, and all of them can be very easily watched. So it's very interesting map in just terms of lockouts, which it'd be like that sometimes.
I can't believe Nintendo put Wally Warehouse in this game 3 games in a row. That's unbelievable. But yeah, Hammerhead is it's so tricky to just get value out of the sides, and I mean, as you said so many times, a wipeout is just so devastating because there's so little room to move around. But I mean, that just really shows a strong team and a coordinated team is going to be able to break through that disadvantage. So this is, I mean, bad maps are just really a test of coordination. Like, how can you deal with, you know, the unusual and unorthodox and undesired circumstances to make it back to mid and to get that cap in the zone? Because once you break through, things can actually get pretty interesting in mid with all the options you have, you know, on the sides and all that.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the mid is kind of a reminiscent of Inkblot with a big tower in the middle and then 2 side areas, and yet they're used more, so it's not exact analogy, but it plays kind of different. We see on the side of Spaceship, we see that E-liter come out, which E-liter and triple splash, which just makes total sense. The sightlines on the map are completely insane, and they definitely help with that lockout. But we see a bit more of a scrappy comp from the side of Squidding Good with the double T-Tech, and we're gonna see if Spaceship is going to be able to stop Squidding Good's momentum here with all of those specials.
Yeah, I mean, Hammerhead is kind of infamous in this game for being the quintessential triple splash map, and we're already seeing how strong it is as Spaceship gets the first wipeout here, already wiping away Squidding Good's momentum from the first game. But I mean, Spaceship got the triple splash, but Squidding Good has 2 10 attacks and a 52 gal to come with it, and those are 3 shooters that are pretty solid against Crab with the specials, and obviously 52 having the wall to just delay things a little bit, and the first splash is going to fall on the side of Spaceship. The strikes are coming onto the zone from the side of Squidding Good, and they're going to try and get this zone neutralized because they know how crucial these first advantages are. That's going to be 2 down on the side of Spaceship, and Squidding Good gets the zone. It's just the E-liter left, and now Squidding Good has the opportunity to really push up and get another hold just like they did last game.
Yeah, even though this comp, even though this comp of the E-liter and the triple crab is so strong, especially on this map, Squidding Good's comp is like basically engineered to counter. Those tri-strikes are going to make sure that you can displace either the crab or the E-liter. The 52 is going to be good against both of those as well with its wall and its whale. And the splash is just for good measure. You know, you can't have a comp without it.
Especially on Hammerhead. My god.
Yeah, we do see an almost zone flip here, or an almost lead flip here from Squidding Good, as they were able to hold for quite a while, but they weren't quite able to get it, and now the zone is back in Spaceship's hands, but not for long, as their E-liter does go down.
Yeah, Squidding Good getting the crucial pick on that E-liter, that just makes things so much easier to move. But it's going to be a lot harder to move when you have a crab staring at you in the face and just hitting you with that direct shot. Trying to shut this wall in, they do, and that's going to be 3 dead from Squidding Good, and Spaceship gets this cap right back. Once forced to jump out, never mind, they just get taken out right away. That's going to be a reset from 0 for Squidding Good, which is not what they want, as Spaceship gets closer to clearing that penalty. And now you can tell Squidding Good really wants to start making plays now. They don't want to let Spaceship's lead get too out of hand, because the further down it goes, the harder it's going to be to take it back. But they're just feeding themselves a little bit. 2 dead on the side of Squidding Good, and Spaceship is continuing their hold and continuing to further their lead just a little bit. Now into the 40s, it's just the 2 10 attacks left on the side of Squidding Good, and this leader is set up for success as the point total goes below 30.
You know, Spaceship has a comp that is so good at holding the crabs. You can't push a crab very well unless they have their specials. You can't push that E-liter very well unless you have your specials, because the sightlines are just so good. And we only have about 10 seconds left of this game if Spaceship does get the cap back, but it's a big fight in mid to make sure that doesn't happen. But it does. 3 down on the side of Squidding Good, and a full wipe ensures that Spaceship is going to get a game in. We are going to game 3 yet again.
This is the 3rd set in a row on stream that's gone to game 3, and is going to stop at game 3 because that's the last game of the series. But yeah, Spaceship gets the game in. It's 1-1 between Spaceship and Squidding Good. Very even. You know, both of these teams took a very dominant game respectively. So it's up to which team can pick up the pieces and put them together to spell out success here on Splatoon's Flounder Heights, which is a map we saw all the way back in Winners Finals. But I mean, a lot of stuff still holds, especially when you have Zero, who's capable of using both the machine and the E-liter, but with their very strong offers on this map, it's a little hard to get situated.
Yeah, no, the name of the game in this map is getting in. Or rather, getting back out once you get locked out. This is another one of those maps, like Scorch Gorge, which we saw last round, where once you get put on defense, it is a uphill battle. It's very easy to hold and very hard to get out against. You have to really do your specials well, take your fights well, and coordinate well in order to get out, because, you know, you're at a disadvantage. The enemy team is going to be charging their specials. Their enemy team is going to have the high ground against you, and have all of the angles covered. So it's definitely difficult and it can become a very snowballing map, just like Hammerhead did.
Yeah, Flounder Heights is, I feel like getting in on Flounder, you really have to use the art of the flank. You know, how do you move up these walls, and how do you sort of weave and coerce things together to you know, create the best definition of success? You can't just go straight up the wall. You're just gonna get shot to death. You really have to go on that right side, go in that trench, use the side walls, use the other team's walls potentially, and just find a way to get back into zone and catch people off guard, because once those dominoes start falling, they will keep on falling. But here we go, game 3 of loser semifinals between Squidding Good and Spaceship.
Ooh.
The loser of this match gets 4th place, and that's a Carbon Deco, I believe, we see on the side of Squidding Good, which is a very, very strong pick on this map.
Yeah, no, the Ingzook is pretty good here, especially, you know, if you can get the picks while you're getting in or getting out, it can be very useful. The burst bomb's great. It's such a strong flank option, but we do see it immediately go down, making Spaceship on the upper hand, or at least they would be if they also didn't go one down themselves. It's just a big scrap in mid right now, trying to get that first hold, trying to get the first advantage so you don't end up getting locked out. It's just, they just keep trading picks.
Yeah, this first cap of the zone is so crucial, but more importantly, it's the first team fight, and Squidding Good is doing phenomenally, already getting this first cap. The Tenatech has these tri-strikes at the ready, just force Spaceship even further away from the zone, but right now, Squidding Good is really focusing this right side push on that ramp. They're kind of leaving that left side just a little bit exposed, should any from Spaceship choose to go on that street, but no, you do see both of Spaceship's crabs going on that right side on that ramp. Just one staying in ball form, trying to run over the machine, but not quite able to make it happen. It just gets shredded and taken out by the triple ink strike, and that's 2 dead on the side of Spaceship. Spaceship just not quite able to make a punch manifest. 3 dead, it's just the splash. Only 1 is dead on the side of Squidding Good. Never mind, it's 2 versus 2 now, but Squidding Good still has such a strong hold. There's not even purple paint on the zone. There it finally is. And now Squidding Good are 3 dead. It's just that Carbon which gets jump camp, and the Spaceship finally gets a hold on the zone, but 31 is quite a long ways away for them.
Yeah, they have the wipe they want, they have the specials they want, but all that's left is to really see the test of skill and whether they're going to be able to hold effectively or not. They do, they have all their specials ready, they've used them, and they still have the 2 left. And it's looking very good for them, but Squidding Good also have their specials ready, which is going to mean that they do have the tools they need to get out, and they're already pressed up to their ramp. We see the Booyah come out, we saw the Inkzuka come out, and it looked like they might get there in time to get the lead canceled, which would be massive. 2 are down on the side of Spaceship, which does mean that Squidding Good is going to start to file in, and they really, really, really want to cap this zone.
Yeah, but they're not quite able to get Spaceship zone, and as soon as Squidding Good gets there, they're 3 dead. It's just this Tenatech. Carbon is coming from spawn, but then now the Tenatech is down. It's just the Carbon by itself, and I don't think it's going to be enough to prevent this lead flip, and it is not. And now Spaceship is in phenomenal advantage. Squidding Good has to get through such a hefty penalty. This Carbon is kind of isolated by themselves, and that's the real issue with Carbon Deco, is it's hard to get in sometimes. You really have to take advantage of these walls, and you can see Squidding Good trying to get there, but Fury is going to go down on the side of Squidding Good. That's going to be 3 down on the side of Squidding Good. Spaceship is doing such a good job holding their advantage, and they have the cap once again. It's just this Tenatech on the side of Squidding Good, and Spaceship is in danger of getting a knockout, and Squidding Good is in no position to defend the zone, no position to get there. 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's going to do it. Spaceship taking it 2-1 over Squidding Good, moving on to Losers Finals.
Oh yeah, so we saw an incredibly dominant first push knockout the first game from Squidding Good. And then, you know, Spaceship turned their game on and started winning their fights and just really, really did well and did a fantastic job of taking it back with the, you know, mini reverse sweep here. And we're going to be seeing them move on.
Beautifully done from Spaceship. Unfortunately, Squidding Good is going to have to bow out at 4th place, matching their seed to a T, but they had a Squidding Good run, I'll tell you that. They did.
No, shut up.
You made one pun, I gotta make one myself. It's only fair game. You know it. But yeah, Squidding Good is going to bow out at 4th place. Spaceship is going to move on to Losers Finals, and I mean, right after this break, we're going to see them once again, so make sure not to go anywhere because Spaceship is here to stay, and they're going to be fighting for their chance in Grands.
See you then.
and welcome to my channel Simply Daisy. Today I'm going to teach you how to crochet for absolute beginners. I thought I would teach you some of the basic stitches and skills you'll need to know. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome back. We are here in Triton-Cup and we are in, right now, Losers Finals. We're going to be watching Uprising versus Spaceship on this very, very interesting map pool. We've got Mahi, Hagglefish, Wahoo, Eeltail, and Brinewater. Which is, these are some very interesting maps. Pinky, what are your thoughts here?
These maps were interesting, to say the least. You know, I mean, we got some. We got Hagglefish. We got boxes. We can
Yay!
break some boxes,
Hagglefish!
but
Yay!
I just want to bring attention to Spaceship and the amazing losers run they've had. They've won 4 straight sets in losers bracket, taking out Targaryen, Penguin, Yessir, and Squidding Good. Penguin, Yessir, and Squidding Good all being game 3 sets. They've been fighting for their life to make it here to losers finals, but they're gonna have to get through Uprising if they want to rise up into grand finals. And I mean, they're gonna have to start here on Zones Mahi, which, I mean, we've said it a lot, but boy, it's an interesting stage.
Interesting is sugarcoating it, but we like to stay positive here. It's a map where long ranges dominate, so we're gonna see a lot of crabs. I predict seeing an E-litter, maybe a, probably an E-litter to be honest. But once the water drops, it becomes like, it's a playable map. It's one of the maps that exists. It's not 5 square feet like the map is when the water is still up, but that's neither here nor there, to be honest.
As a Splatoon 1 veteran, it's just wild to me that this is what Mahi is to you people. Like, you guys have no reference for any other Mahi to go back to. It's a little wild. It makes me feel old, which is weird because I'm not old. But yeah, I mean, Mahi zones, that water drops and something becomes a lot more playable. But I mean, if there's anything that's good about this map, at least before the water drops, if you die to crab, you're back in the zone in like 3 seconds.
Yeah, very short map.
It is right there, so you get a lot of chances to just push back into it and just keep, I don't necessarily say throw yourself at it, but a lot of chances and a lot of time to really set up a strong push on the stage.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Like the perches are so strong, but we're gonna see what we get ran here with like we said, Spaceship versus Uprising. We do immediately see a heavy spotting, which is something that I was thinking about predicting but didn't want to commit to, versus an E-Leader, which is a very unfortunate matchup. But we'll see how it goes here.
Yeah, we've obviously, you know, splatting players can have a little more sympathy to dealing with the E-Leader, but Uprising is going to choose to bring that heavy splatting. Zero Rapid once again flexing onto that E-Leader. And, I mean, Zero has been so strong on this leader. Like, even though they've been mostly playing Machine this tournament, the times they pulled out leader, they've done very well with it. And now, you know, Spaceship has the first cap here. Well, not necessarily the first cap, but they have the first strong hold in mid. And now here's Zero on that leader, just trying to get something to happen, but they're forced to back out a little bit, and they do get taken out by the 52, who gets taken out themselves by the Machine. People are just falling left and right here, and it's still Spaceship with the lead, but now it's 3 versus 2 in zone in the favor of Uprising, and Uprising is going to take it and hold on to it just a little bit longer.
Yeah, Spaceship's leader going down there was huge. Zero was being very, very ballsy out there, just trying to get a pick, but unfortunately did go down in the process, which is something that never wants to happen. It leaves your team very, very vulnerable to this exact situation happening where you're just going to struggle to get back in because you gave up so much control there. We do see the tide starting to turn with Uprising getting a few players down, but Spaceship is also a few players down, so it's not really changing much. The Svatana out there is going to go for the cheeky Booyah bomb cancel, but unable to get it. But the water has dropped at this point. We are way past the halfway point with only about 20 seconds left on the clock, even less, before this game is an instant KO, and it doesn't even look like Spaceship is in the position to even think about trying to recap it.
Yeah, they just get picked off one by one, going back into the zone. That's 3 dead, and that's going to be game 1. Going to very, very dominantly going to Uprising here, taking first game of the series. And I should mention we've gotten a few best of 3 series. We now are in a best of 5 series for Losers Finals, but what a fantastic start from Uprising, winning in such a dominant fashion on Mahi zones.
Yeah, but they've been through this before. Or actually, no, they haven't. This is the exact opposite of what happened with the last set, where Spaceship got taken out so fast. But it's time for them to, you know, show what they can do and show how fast they can take it. So next we're gonna be going to Hagglefish Zones, one of my personal favorite matches. Or not matches, map modes, but I definitely think the E-Leader is going to be brought back out again because of the very strong positions it can take here. What are your thoughts?
I don't know, Zero has a winning weapon pool on the stage. You know, both Leader and Machine are just so strong here, and they're both really strong at exploiting the weaknesses of the heavy splatling or of just the splatling in general that Uprising has been running. But I mean, Hagglefish Zones is, I guess, quote unquote, the most normal zones map in this sort of map pool, but I do gotta say, like, there's a lot going on this stage. You know, you have the flanks to the left and right that can be called out sometimes, but when they're not seen and when they're not called out, they can be devastating. You have the funny little boxes to break, which, I mean, is always a highlight for me personally, but that's just a personal thing.
W map.
But more importantly, it's so hard to push forward and through that zone, especially when you have a good backline on that tent. And here we already see Uprising has a good backline of their own, as well as U-Snipe on that Stamper. And we don't see the leader on the side of Spaceship. Zero Rapid is opting to go on that Machine, and Goss is back on those Tetra goalies.
Uprising, just by pure comp, it seems like they have a pretty good advantage here with their range. This is a map where range is really, really important, and that's how you're going to be winning a lot of your fights. But the Tetras are already out there just trying to distract both the heavy and another player as much as they can before, you know, going down, even though they don't go down. And it looks like Uprising actually are the ones that are 2 down, really making their, staking their claim and really going in and getting as much control as they can before they eventually would go to a disadvantage.
Yeah, Spaceship is just doing a very strong hold here. Uprising is 1 down, it's just their Stamper, but the 52 drops off the 10 and gets picked off fairly quickly. Uprising now has the 4 versus 2 advantage, and they still have a lot of specials in their chance. The Tetras are going to burn that Reef Slider, trying to just go in as far as possible. You know, Tetras do what Tetras always going to do, and this Machine is right there behind him, trying to get a pick, gets one, trying for the second, the other's weak, the teammate's there to finish it off. It's just the Stamper left alive. The Stamper's using Zipcaster, an unidentified flying object, flying towards the spaceship here, but not quite able to make something happen as they go down. And this Heavy's is gonna get sniped by this machine, and that's gonna be game 2, going very dominantly to Spaceship with the wipeout to seal the deal.
You know, they were very, very confident there. The machine ended up being a really great choice from the side of Spaceship. Like you said, it exploits the weaknesses of their team a lot. That Heavy was not able to exist. Just nobody on that tent was able to exist with that machine over there. Just due to the arc of the shots, due to the massive hitbox. Just generally a great choice, but also very well played in general from Spaceship as they take a game 2.
Yeah, Uprising took a very strong game 1, and Spaceship took it right back. And Spaceship is no stranger to these scenarios. As I've said, Spaceship has won three-game sets in a row to get to this point. They're used to that sort of back and forth. It's where they thrive, and now they're starting to get comfortable here. They're starting to get comfortable with Uprising's whole playstyle and their whole shtick, and they're gonna have to see if they can carry this comfort into one of the most bizarre and chaotic maps in this game, which is going to be Splatoon's Wahoo World.
Wahoo World is a map. It's very open, but also just it feels simultaneously very open and very cramped with how mid just kind of like pincers in on itself with very little area to move. But this Wahoo Zones is the most tolerable by far of all the map modes, just due to the fact that that bridge never closes. You never only have one approach to mid, at least in zones. The other map modes are the other map modes, but at least here, you're not going to be forced to go through a predictable entry route, and you're not going to be forced to lose your only stable background option. So that's nice, but it's hard to know what to expect when we haven't seen this map played competitively in at least quite a while in my experience.
Yeah, I mean, Wahoo does pop up every now and again, I mean, Zones is definitely the most competitively viable map, or the most competitively viable mode on Wahoo, because as you said, that entrance through plat is always open. You always have that option through glass. You can flank into the carousel on either side. There's also a lot of room to move on Wahoo. That objective is kind of in like an hourglass shape, which gives you a lot of place to move in spawn, not as much place to move in mid. It's very interesting to see like how players are sort of funneled, but we've seen both teams pull out a 52 cal at some point and get a lot of mileage out of it, and I think 52 cal is a phenomenal weapon on the stage with that splash wall. It's able to deny so much space in the clearest entry point being through plat. So we might see some strong 52 play, we might see some whale play, we're definitely going to see some grab play, we might see some nice backlands come out. There's a lot that can happen here in Splatoon's Wahoo.
What happens in Splatoon's Wahoo stays in Splatoon's Wahoo, though.
I mean, I guess so.
All these maps, really. Anything that happens on these maps is not representative of these, just in general. They're so wild, so rare to see, but we're seeing them. We're definitely seeing them.
We're seeing the goofy and a little bit of the silly. These stages are getting a little quirked up here. But we should be shortly heading into Game 3 here. And yeah, there's the transition. We're going right into things here. Game 3 of the series. Both teams are 1-1. And this is a best-of-5 series. The 52 gal is going to come out on the side of Uprising. Not going to come out on the side of Spaceship. Spaceship opting to go with the same comp that worked for them last game. And Uprising is trying to reprise the comp that worked out in the first.
Yeah, right now we're just seeing, crabs being charged. It looks like Spaceship already has one up and is going to immediately use it to take a great amount of control of the zone. Even though it does get capped, nobody on the side of Uprising is going to be able to move in, and it quickly flips back over in their favor. The Wave Breaker is going to get bullied by that machine, unfortunately, even though it is over the wall, because that's just what crabs do, and the Heavy Swallowing is there contesting. But the zone is still in Spaceship's favor, and nothing really too dramatic is happening. It's just kind of a big stalemate, at least until two members of Spaceship do go down, and it looks like it is going to start to go back in Uprising's favor.
Yeah, Uprising finally gets that cap on the zone, but just barely able to break through that tiny penalty. Now they're starting to get a little more of a substantial push, but here comes the crabs. The crabs are going to go away, though. The demons are going to be gone, but one splash is down on the side of Uprising. It's a pretty solid spot. And that's going to be another dead on the side of Uprising. Beautiful play from Zero Rapid on this machine. And she's going to push a little far forward and try to get this Heavy. They do get the pick. They're going to go down for their troubles to that Heavy. A bit of a ghost splat, if you ask me. But regardless, Spaceship is the ones that have the zone, but it's just the Splash left alive. The teammates are definitely trying to jump to them, but the Stamper trying to fly around, get some picks, but regardless, nothing was really able to happen. Spaceship not really getting any of the things started they wanted to, or Uprising didn't really get anything started, and Spaceship is the one that still has this hold.
Yeah, that was a great example of how important it is to stay alive, because Zero there was able to get their entire team back in just off of being able to stay alive for just a little bit. So that's the difference between being 3 down and a complete wipe. But even though they did get pushed down all the way to 18, they do go 2 down, and that is the cap on the side of Uprising. It's only the Splash there once again trying to get those jumps in most likely, and we do see one of the machines jump in immediately. But it's still on Uprising's, they still have the upper hand here. They have the special ready. They have Crab, no, that's actually, sorry. They have the Crab to get back in, my bad. But they still have such a really strong control of the zone, and it looks like it's gonna be a while before the zone is flipped again, unless I'm immediately wrong.
You are. Spaceship gets that cap immediately, but that's gonna be 2 down on Uprising, and Spaceship is gonna get this zone back. The Tetris do get their special canceled, which is a little unfortunate, but Spaceship has got to be taking it. You know, they got a hefty penalty on Uprising, and they're working through their own very quickly. They're about halfway through it, and once they do, they're going to be in a sincere threat of knocking it out. The Stamper just trying to make something happen, poking from so far away. They're forcing one to just go all the way into their walls. There's just one going completely behind Uprising. I'd wager anything that that's the Tetris, but it's just being such a distraction and so obnoxious, and all of a sudden, Spaceship is through their penalty. There's a crab battle in the zone, but the Tetris go down. The flank is caught. It's just the Splash, and the Splash goes down, and Uprising has control of the zone once again.
Yeah, no, we see Uprising already pushed in. They do go 1 down, unfortunately, because of that machine, but they still have control. They still have hope. They're still, you know, doing their best to take it out. We see the Zipcaster come out. We see the Kratzen come out. The Heavy has their Waybreaker ready. The 52 does get picked by that Booyah with a very, very lucky pick there. And they do see them just crumble. They do go 3 down. It's only the Splash there, desperately trying to stay alive once again. That's the name of the game, and ends up jumping out in order to save that ever so important crab tank that they do have almost charged there.
Yeah, Jisha is just trying to get their team to all come this way. They know that they're very close to getting this knockout. They got close twice before, and they weren't quite able to make it happen, and they don't want to give Uprising any chance to make this comeback, but Jisha's just not quite able to make it happen alone. The team isn't there, but now 2 are dead on the side of Uprising. They get the quick cap. They win the battle, but they're going to lose this war, as Spaceship is going to have no issues getting this cap back, and that they do. And now Uprising only has 1 minute left in this game to get the zone timer all the way down to 16.
Yeah, it's still it's a scrappy team fight in mid right now. 2 go down on the side of Spaceship, which means that Uprising is going to have basically 1 last chance to get in. We see Goss under the carousel, you know, sticking out and trying to stay alive as much as possible, trying to be as annoying and as distracting so that Uprising can't put the resources towards getting further and further in, which means that it's going to be, you know, they've taken a while. They're still stuck in mid when Spaceship is already back out to contest them, so it's going to take a while and it's going to take a lot, but the timer is ticking closer and closer to midnight as the zone gets so close to flipping with only the Heavy there. They can't quite protect the zone all by themselves, and they do end up going down with 2 seconds left on the clock. That is going to be a win for Spaceship.
Beautiful defense from Spaceship and beautiful offense as well. Getting that push all the way down to 18 was just too far away for Uprising to get it. They got it to 17 for good measure, and now Spaceship, after a long, arduous losers run, are at match point here. They just need to win 1 more game, and they're on to grand finals, and they are going to make a great losers run to get it, but they're going to have to seal this deal here. Game 4 on Zone's Eeltail Alley, which is, I mean, we've said it before, we'll say it again, one of the stages of all time.
If Scorch Gorge has a zone the size of Texas, Eeltail Alley has a zone the size of the whole dang continent here. It spans the entire map pretty much. There's only a few feet where it doesn't touch the walls. It is so unbelievably hard to cap, and it's so hard to defend. So we're definitely going to see how these teams adapt. We're going to see if they make any switches to comp as we do go into it pretty soon here. Pinky, do you have any thoughts here? Do you any predictions on whether or not Spaceship is going to be able to take it?
I mean, as you said, you gotta get your full manifest destiny in here if you want to get that zone here on Eeltail Alley. Like, you gotta go coast to coast. It is just wild how much of the zone there is, and there's construction equipment there. There's a traffic cone. Why is there a traffic cone? But you know, this zone, unorderly, chaotic, and I mean that's been kind of a theme of this set. Both these teams are just trying to do whatever they can to throw each other off. You know, the weird flanks of the Tetras, the unidentified flying object of the Stamper with the Zipcaster. So much is going on, but we're just gonna be hopping right into game 4. Uprising not changing their comp. Spaceship is not as well, I think. Yeah, it's still a double splash machine in Tetra. It's been working for them for the last 2 games. They're going to try and make it work here to take this set away. And we're already seeing the scramble into the zone going out.
Yeah, this team fight is so important here, and we do already see Uprising go 1 member down, which is foreboding. The Tetras go down, but they're gonna be right back up real soon here. And just more picks go down, 2 and 2 on both sides. The machine goes down with their Booyah, which is super unfortunate. But we already see the crab tank come out, which is gonna be very unfortunate. Wavebreaker goes up, but there's not too many people in the zone to benefit from it, so it does immediately get shredded. So that was a bit of a unfortunate place to put it. There's more people going down. The zone is stalled, which is, you know, just a hallmark of this. But we do see Uprising get a full wipe in just a few seconds, going from being 3 up to all the way down, as these players are going to have to really try to get back in, which is a real hard thing on this map.
Yeah, but the Tetras on the side of Spaceship flew a little too close to the sun. They do get taken out by the splash burst bomb. And now there's a crab battle. They're both just staring at each other, not wanting to hit each other. And nothing really happens in this crab battle. And with Spaceship, that's kind of all you can ask for. They're continuing to hold this zone and push it further. They're below 40 points here, and there's only been a little over a minute in this match. And Spaceship still has full control of the zone, despite many players going down. Here's Zero on this machine, trying to just defend a little as good as possible. But the Whale's going to force them out. And that's going to be Uprising getting the cap for the first time this game. But already been a minute and a half, and Spaceship has gotten all the way down to 27.
That's super impressive here. Spaceship does not fully go wipe down, unlike Uprising earlier in this game, which means that they're gonna have the resources to just take it back immediately. They have the crab, they have the Booyah, and they have the players to really force really advantageous fights for themselves, get some picks, and get that zone capped yet again. They were Uprising was 2 down there in a moment, and you know, Spaceship is wasting no time in moving in and trying to take advantage of it, with the machine still poking and doing what the machine does best and taking advantage of the map terrain, and the other more aggressive players going up and really trying to get as much space as they can to defend their zone.
Yeah, the efficiency of Spaceship has just been phenomenal. Every time they get 2 dead, not just throughout the set, but throughout this tournament, they get 2 dead and they just push up as far as possible. This Tetra's already behind Uprising, already got the heavy, gets another pick for their trouble. That's the 2 dead that Spaceship looks for, and 1 more goes down. 1's being cornered, and that's death. And Spaceship is going to get this zone back, with Uprising far away from getting this lead back. We're in the second half of this match, but Spaceship has just had a stranglehold over this pace the whole time, and now the specials are going to come out to ensure it even stronger. The Splash is trying to come through, but 2 are down on the side of Spaceship. Uprising trying to come in here. Splash gets the heavy. Such a nice pick. Gets the double. Able to equalize it as the rest of their teammates come back. The 52 is trying to get this jump camp, but they get the Splash. Not getting the jump. There it is, though. 2 dead on the side of Spaceship, but the Splash so strong, able to waste enough time. And now the zone timer is taking down even further below 20.
Yeah, even though Uprising did get an advantage there, they weren't able to pin the zone in time because the zone is just so massive. There are 5 points left on the clock, and as a full wipeout, and Spaceship gets the 3 wins that they need to take this set.
Yeah, Spaceship taking it 3-1 over Uprising after a daunting 5-set losers run. Spaceship takes it and is able to move on to grand finals. And I mean, what a run from Uprising, making it all the way to the end of winner's bracket, but just coming up short against GOAT and just coming up short against Spaceship. They're going to bow out of this tournament at 3rd place. It's a commendable run, but Spaceship are the ones that rose up in this match.
So,
just phenomenal play.
So we mentioned that Spaceship had a a massive winning streak in losers with a really good run. Pinky, are you aware of the team that sent them there? Uprising. This is a rematch from winners round 3. They took it back, which is especially impressive when considering they got 3-0'd in that first in that first set, which is just, you know, incredibly impressive. Well done to Spaceship here, taking it back and winning that little vengeance match here. You know, not even close.
Nice little grudge match, you know, getting the revenge of the people that sent them there and now outplacing them. And now Spaceship has not had a chance to fight Goat. Now they get to really test themselves against the top team in this bracket here, but they'll have to win 2 sets to do so. But we're going to be going into a short break before you get there. Make sure you don't go anywhere because this grand finals is about to be crazy.
Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel Simply Daisy. Today I'm going to teach you how to crochet for absolute beginners. I thought I would
Hello everyone and welcome back to Triton Cup, and here we are for grand finals, Spaceship versus GOAT. GOAT obviously making it here through a phenomenal winners bracket run, Spaceship making a very strong losers bracket run, beating the team that sent them down there in the first place. I am Broken Pinky, I'm joined here with Weef, and we're gonna have one heck of a grand finals unfold for us.
Oh yeah, 100%. These are probably the better map choices we could have seen from here. And I just think these teams are gonna put on a really, really good show. You know, like you mentioned, Spaceship had that amazing losers bracket run, but GOAT, you know, never lost once. So it's anyone's game here. We don't have any. I don't believe we have any context for how these teams did against each other, and so it's exciting. I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Yeah, as you said, these two teams have not met yet. Spaceship lost decently early in winners bracket to Uprising, who they just beat in losers finals, and now they have their chance to go up against GOAT. But Spaceship, coming from this losers bracket, are the underdogs here. They have to win 2 best-of-5 sets if they want to win this tournament. GOAT, coming from the winners bracket, only has to win 1, and we're gonna start this grand finals right here on Splatzone's Sturgeon Shipyard. Weef, what do you think of this stage?
We've talked about the stage earlier in winners finals, but it's a map where it's like the spinning element, the spinner that does go up and down, adds some dimension to it because it changes the positioning. You know, if you're a backliner and you're on the snipe, which is a much more safe position, you're not going to get as much value because a lot of your sight lines are going to get blocked by it. But if you move up, you make yourself more vulnerable, but also in exchange you get more value out of your positioning. So it's really interesting. It also adds a really nice flank route for not necessarily a flank route, but another movement option for your more aggressive players, and just generally adds a bunch of dimension. So I'm actually quite a big fan of the stage, but I do believe you have a slightly different opinion.
I mean, I still like this stage. I think it's one of the stronger stages in this game. Definitely one of the stronger zones maps. But moving it is a little bit awkward. You know, you are kind of funneled into those choke points if you really want to enter mid, and it's so easy for a strong team to just set up for success and really just lock you into your own court and even your own spawn. But I mean, we might just see that here. These are obviously two very strong teams. You have to be strong in order to make it to this point of any tournament, and I mean, of a tournament of this size, Spaceship and GOAT getting here, that's very commendable. These are two very strong teams, and I mean, we're about to see them play hard on these games. It's gonna be something for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. The rest of these maps, like we said, are looking good, but we'll definitely have to see. I know you were saying that you were saying that Spaceship is the underdog, but we've been following them for quite a while, so you know I have a bit of an emotional attachment. We've been seeing them, you know, since we've started losers basically, and so you know we've seen them do very, very well, and so I believe that they do have a very strong chance of taking the dub against GOAT. But
yeah, I mean, they definitely have the momentum on their side. It's been quite a while since GOAT has played in this tournament. Spaceship's been just going back to back to back to back to back. And here we are, starting this grand finals right up. We're seeing the double splash comp come out on the side of GOAT, and we're seeing Spaceship running something a little bit atypical. Goss is on that 52 instead of that Tetra on the stage, which makes sense because those walls are so easy to control those choke points. We have very similar comps here, only a Tetra and a 52 differentiating these two comps, and already there's a crab being charged and put on the spinner on the side of GOAT, just trying to make sure that, you know, Spaceship has as hard of a time entering zone as possible. The crab gets the first pick on the 52 cal, and that first pick is going to get the first zone cap for GOAT right here.
GOAT's wasting no time in moving up, really, really annoying that splash, getting both splashes down, and making sure that, you know, there's, like you said, it's very, very easy for a strong team to get set up here, and that's what they are trying to do. They are trying desperately to get set up. Goss on the 52 does get a really nice pick on one of the splashes, though, and it is able to start thinking about, you know, getting back in. The Tetras also go down, and mid is starting to get contested again. You know, they're not locked out yet, even though they do have somebody behind them, you know, that might get a few picks there. The crab gets taken down by that Phoenix on that flank. And it's a scramble right now. You know, players aren't, you know, where you'd expect them to be. They're just all over the place, really just trying to eke out any advantage that they can.
Yeah, this stage is really starting to open up, but it's still GOAT that has such a strong hold. They're getting this point counter all the way below 20. and Spaceship is having a really hard time coordinating, getting something together. There is one pick on the splash done by the other splash on the side of Spaceship, but the crabs are coming out. Crab battle in zone. The crab on the side of Goat is going to end first, but that doesn't even matter. Goat just takes a very quick game one before I can even get my thoughts together.
Goat apparently has not cooled down at all during that massive break, and they are proving why they remained on top of winners bracket throughout it all. That was a very dominant display. It just felt like Spaceship just struggled so hard to get any foothold there. But we'll see if that changes as we go to Hammerhead zones. We've talked about this, I believe we saw it last set, but to sum it up, what do we think about this stage?
It's my favorite rendition of Walleye Warehouse in this Splatoon series. I love it so, but yeah, this is I mean it's I don't want to call it butchered as a Splatoon 1 fan, but you know, it's been changed a little bit, and
Pretty
that
bad.
change definitely creates a more different playstyle than the zones you saw on Splatoon 1's Hammerhead. It's a lot more lockout focused and therefore a lot more team focused. It's a lot more coordination focused. If you want to break through a stronghold, you need to work together. You need to use your specials and you need to use them well to force the other team out of the way and just pry an opening for yourself. But I mean, both these teams are not familiar to working together. Goat has only lost 2 games this entire tournament, I want to point out. Spaceship has lost a few games here and there, but they won so many sets in a row to make it here. So I don't know, these are teams that are both used to winning a lot of games and a lot of sets. So I mean, they're gonna try and do it against each other, I guess.
Yeah, it's also a map where we see backlines really prosper. You know, rare backline W, to be honest, other than leaders. You can, you know, it's a leader. But, you know, just the sightlines here mean that the leader, I believe we saw Spaceship running a leader here earlier, and we might see it again out of Zero. Is very strong, and then also the crab takes are strong. We see, you know, Goat already run ahead with the double splash, and we see the same comp that they ran earlier out of Spaceship, which is that triple splash plus the leader. Classic.
Yeah, Hammerhead Zones is the quintessential triple splash comp. I mean, I've rarely seen a triple splash comp that has not been on Hammerhead Zones. This is like something like mincemeat, but right away the first crab is going to come out from Goat. That's going to be 3 versus 3 scenario. The Tetris go down on the side of Spaceship, or on the side of Goat, I believe. Yeah, sorry. But Goat still has control of the zone here. The crowd on the side of Spaceship just runs it a little too early before they're able to get a pick. The splash is now dropped in that lower left drop area, getting contested heavily by this machine, but through it all, Spaceship has the cap and are getting close to getting this lead, but a lead this flimsy does not mean that much. This splash is just sort of being forced to move around, and here's the machine on the side of Goat, just poking the splash on this right court as best as they can, not even caring about the zone, just caring more about the picks. But that's going to cost them getting sniped by Zero here, and that's 3 versus 3 in the zone, but Goat is able to get it back.
Yeah, it's even if Zero did briefly have the lead here, you can just tell by their playing that they are uncomfortable. Their positions are awkward. They're, you know, they're being forced out of, you know, places that they would be comfortable in, and not being able to take team fights that would make them, you know, feel good. And so we do see them go for some weird plays. We do see a nice snipe from Zero out there, meaning that goes on to 2 down and are going to be forced to take a little bit of a defense. Only that splash remains up. Only Phoenix is there to keep the hold, even though we do see some jumps in.
Yeah, but Goat on their push was able to get it down to 57, but now Spaceship is through their penalty and they're pushing it down themselves. We have crab on crab violence on the ramp, and the crab on the side of Spaceship is going to win, and Spaceship is getting really close to getting this lead from Goat. And once you get this lead, LDE is going to start to activate on the side of Goat. It's a bit of a double-edged sword though, because now this lead is in the favor of Spaceship, and they're trying to push even further. The Tetris get picked off, which makes it so much easier for Spaceship to position how they want to, and they still have control of this zone so dominantly. Now they're about 20 points ahead. 2 dead on the side of Goat. Spaceship is still holding the zone. Zero just trying to get some pressure going with that E-leader, but these splashes are just throwing burst bombs and assisting for each other so well. The machine is trying to make something happen, coming on the backside, gets a kill with a fizzy, but dies in their Booyah. It's 2 versus 2 in the zone, but it's just the leader alive, and it's going to be a retake for Goat.
That poor E-leader, he even took one out on his way out, but he was pressured so hard that it was going to be so hard for him to stay alive. Unfortunately, that does mean that their team is left backlineless for a second, but they have the crab tanks to help retake, and make sure that Goat is not able to encroach further off of this lead. Their penalty has worn off and they are starting to count down, but Spaceship does have a sizable lead on them, so it's not going to be switched anytime soon, especially with 3 crabs on the line right now. So we're going to see Spaceship really try to move in. They are Goat is 2 down, but we do see some scraps over here with the crabs. It's just a full-on team fight, full-on desperation, as the Spaceship eventually does take the lead back and applies a fat penalty to Goat.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this crab play. It's just so good at making it so difficult for your opponents to move forward and take space. That's 2 dead on the side of Goat already as Spaceship starts to move in, but they fly a little too close to the sun. 2 of their splashes are down. It's just the leader and 1 other splash. This leader is in the zone, just trying to pressure as best as they can, but they're forced to move away. Here comes those Tetras on that reef slider, just coming right for Zero's head, trying to make something happen. The Tetras are just going really aggressively, get the pick on the leader, and now they're coming for those splashes with the Tetras outraging them by so much. Trying to get a pick, but not quite able to get it, but buying valuable time for Goat to get through their penalty. And Spaceship is all locked up in their plat, but they have 3 crabs at the ready, popping 2 immediately, trying to just get some pain on the zone, getting some control out of there. But one of the crabs is getting targeted by the Booyah bomb. Spaceship is 2 dead, and Goat is almost through their penalty.
Yeah, even though they do get the pick on that Tetris, that doesn't mean much when they only have a few seconds left to retain their lead. And they only have a few seconds left to cap the zone left, or this game is going to be over, and they don't quite get it. Very narrow victory from Goat, but it does go to them in the end.
Yeah, Goat just barely able to sneak away the victory. Spaceship was able to get it down to 10. They got it oh so close, but Goat's hold was just too strong. I think just the monotonicity of the weapon ranges on the side of Spaceship was kind of playing at a disadvantage to them here, because the machine and Tetras were just able to outrange them by just enough to make a difference. All those splashes, and now Goat is not just at set point, they're at tournament point, up 2-0 against Spaceship.
Yeah, that was definitely a much closer game than last time, proving why they did make it so far through losers bracket and proving that they do definitely belong in this grand finals. But it wasn't quite enough though. It was still a very uncomfortable fight for them. They just weren't able to get the clean control that they ever wanted. So even though they were able to get that lead so far and just hold for so long, it wasn't very stable, and they eventually did suffer from that and did drop the game. But next we are going to Undertow Spillway on Splat Zones, always on Splat Zones, but this is a map that takes a different approach, and that I think we'll see a little bit different play on it. What do you think, Mickey?
I mean, it's going to enforce different play because this is one of the few split zones maps in this game. We saw them all over the place in Splatoon 1 and 2, but as of now, it's just Undertow and Flounder holding the torch of the split zones maps, for better or worse. And I mean, Undertow, these zones are really tiny. They're very easy to retake, and I feel like Undertow can fall into 2 separate realities, one of which where it's mincemeat, where it's just so hard to get control of the zone and so hard to push up, and one of which where it's like Hammerhead, where they're in your spawn and you just can't do anything about it.
Yeah, there is there is that super far flank route, but if there's somebody over there, you're dropping into enemy territory, they have pretty good sightlines on you, and it's just gonna be hard to get out. And like I said, it's just an interesting map to play around because the terrain is odd, and there's so many weird areas that are blocked off. The entirety of mid is bisectioned by that ridge there, which means that the play is going to be interesting and that your team is going to have to be kind of split up, because even if somebody is right on that other side, you're not in their assisting range because of that big wall. So it just means that the play is just interesting to say the least.
Yeah, exactly, but we're going to be hopping right into things here. This is game 3 of grand finals, and Goat is at tournament point. If they win this game, they win the set and the tournament, and they're not messing with success. They know what works. And we're going to see Zero switching off that leader, going onto that machine, just trying to make something work. These are the same comps we saw in game 1, but we're going to have to see. This is game 3. It's a whole new game, a whole new stage, and we're just going to have to wait and see how this happens.
Yeah, already we see the crab, whoever gets Crab first gets the first advantage, and we do see Goat to take mid. The Crab comes out from Spaceship, but it's not going to be quite enough to really stop this Tetra from going in and bullying one of the 52 gal, and it's not going to be enough for them to just keep pushing further and further. The lead is now in the zones are now under control, and they're well on their way to a solid push here.
Yeah, Goat just has such a strong hold here. We see Goth on that 52, not under comfort Tetris. The wall just gets run over by the Reef Slider, and they get exploded. Very well done, and that's another kill. Body Tetris was trying to get the machine, not quite able to get 0 on the machine, but I mean, the machine's just getting pushed back. They're gonna get taken out too. 2 are dead on the side of Goat, but 2 are also dead on the side of Spaceship. Goat's just holding on to this mid for dear life, and they're doing a damn good job of it. The point total is almost over 40, and there it goes. Crab is gonna be popped on this far left side of the map, covering that flank area. The Crab gets the pick. It's just the Splash left on the side of Spaceship. Goat is just holding it phenomenally strong. The Splash has the Crab, but Goat is at 20 points, well below 20 points. There's about 10 seconds away from winning this tournament. If they can just hold on to this zone, it's being contested, but it looks like Spaceship's gonna hold on for just a little bit longer, make it a little bit more even.
This is truly a last effort for Spaceship, as if they don't cap the zone, they might end up losing the tournament here. They are 2 down, they went 3 down for a second. There's only about 5 points left in the clock, and they're 3 down, and the game goes to Goat. That means it's gonna be set, and that means it's gonna be tournament.
Game, set, match, and tournament going to Goat. Beautifully done by this team, only losing 2 games this entire tournament, and that was in their Game 5 set versus Booyah Gang in Winter Corner Finals. And what a just dominant display. Goat is showing that they are the GOATs of Splat Zones, fittingly. Spaceship, you gotta commend their effort. One hell of a loser's run, especially as the 6th seed. Placing 2nd here, such a commendable effort, but at the end, Goat has proven that they are the greatest of all time.
Yeah, no, these some of the players off of Goat, we recognize. Me and Pinky both also did Under Pressure, which is, you know, a tournament that I know at least Orion, I'm not sure if Phoenix was there, but those, you know, players from that team forming pickups and just, you know, doing really, really well. And so those players are definitely expected to do well. But yeah, what a great tournament. It was just, that fantastic loser run from Spaceship was something really exciting. And even though they did lose pretty hard, they definitely proved that they did earn their spot with some valiant efforts there.
But yeah, with that being said, Goat is your winners of this tournament, and that's going to be the end of us here at Triton-Cup. But before we head out, I gotta ask, where can the wonderful people of this Twitch chat find you?
Before that, I need to make a pun. Goat was a greatest of all Triton-Cups. Anyway,
I
you
made
can
it
find
already!
Me. Wait, did you? Okay, I zoned out. I'm sorry. You can find me on both Twitter and Twitch at WeefSlider. Pinky, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at BrokenPinky_. The underscore is at the end. I know it's a little bit weird, but you know what? I'm a little bit weird. We just get quirked up with it a little bit. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Another huge congratulations to Goat for winning this tournament. That's going to be the end of it here at Dapple Productions. See you guys next time.
See ya. Fuck you. I'm scathing. I zone out for 5 seconds and you steal my goddamn joke. That was terrible. Never do that again.
Alright, we raid Giver. Is that right?